Hey, thanks for the like, Frank. Oh god. Hot gamer boy. No you, Chinchilla. How have I been lately? Having some IRL issues that have been preventing me from streaming, and I'm really fucking sick right now. So still, I've committed to this panel, and I'll do it. And I got my mute button on hand, so I can blow my nose and cough and sneeze and all the mucus and everything I need to be doing, spreading. Look, I'm conscientious. I've been wearing a mask the few times I have to go out. But yeah, how are you doing, Frank? How have I been? Well, I guess I just said how I've been. Same, I got a fever, but nothing else. Did I get tested? No, it's not the COVID symptoms. My cough and everything is full of mucus, and like I'm not lacking any sense of smell or taste. I don't feel any shortness of breath either. I'm pretty sure it's just like a bad cold. It's not. Am I okay? Look, I'll be honest, I'm gonna be Nodders, man, okay? Plus, you have guests for tonight's panel, right? I don't have to talk as much. His name, I'm okay. I'll be fine. Nah, the real thing is I got a lot of shit going on in IRL right now, too. So, that's what's been keeping you from streaming. But I'll try to stream, at least put on Baba Is You in the background. Yes, I should do the Destiny thing. I should just play Baba Is You while everyone's chatting. And then someone like asks me a question and I just rant about, I don't know, like Putin or something. Poopin' with Putin. Yeah. But plus, I'm double vaccinated, Odin. I understand I could still have COVID, but I probably don't have it. I've been going through some IRL stuff myself. Sorry to hear you're under the weather. Hope you feel better soon and stuff works its way out for you. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's all good. It'll all be Gucci. It's just my streaming schedule for the next like week or two is going to be very sparse. I posted up something on the Discord. I guess I should have posted on the Facebook page too. Yeah, I'll try to stream a bit. Maybe like during weekends or once or twice a night during the week. But yeah, it's limited in scope for a little bit. I'll be back later. It's all good. I think D&D might be looking shaky. Uh-oh. Wait, actually, I'm fine with that. Then, because I might have a date that I would have had to cut short for D&D. Hopefully, I'm not still sick by Sunday though. This little pog is moving. Oh shit, Paula, where are you moving? My restaurant bought like new glasses, but you know how they have like a little imprinted text. The text is the problem. It's spelled Rona. What the fuck? God, I fucking hate being sick. Yeah, I'm gonna be traveling to Copenhagen, Horsens, so it might be kinda sleepy. We'll have to decide on the day. Ooh. Alright. Alright. Gonna keep us in the loop as to what happens. Alright. I probably should join Chinchilla. We still have 5 minutes. Maybe, you know what I should do? I should do like one of those GIFs, or I should just like have my camera loop or something, and then I can go take a nap while they're having the panel. No, I'm joking. I hope you aren't bored that much while traveling. Yo, traveling I don't know. I guess if I wasn't incapable of falling asleep in like trains or planes, then I would probably hate traveling a lot more than I do. I really don't mind traveling though. If I'm actually bored, I'll just fall asleep. That's what Gehyun did with online classes, unironically. Indeed, nice. I'm gonna make an LSF thread about streamer ignoring the editor. Nice. Okay, that was the first time I had a Starbucks chocolate chip cookie. Fuck, it was so good. Nice. God, I don't see a reason to go to Starbucks in France, like, ever. If I want coffee, I can get good coffee from any cafe. I guess the only real good reason would be if I want the specific, like, 90% sugar mixes from Starbucks, which are good. Like, the fucking pumpkin spice one, it's amazing. I love it. I can't hate on it. Pumpkin spice and everything nice. It's really good. But cookies, I don't know. It's also hella expensive. That's the problem. Starbucks is really fucking expensive. Don't let Melon hear that. It's okay. Hasn't she? Shit. I need to talk to her. I don't know where she's at with the job and everything. There was a cafe here, but like 25% more expensive. But their chocolate chip cookie was the best fucking shit ever. They're temporarily closed. I was so excited to eat them, but they're closed. RIP. That sucks. Oh god. I like slapping myself when... I like getting slapped. I like slapping myself when, to like wake myself up, but it doesn't actually work that well. She left the Bucks life, I think. She's in the warehouse. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I recall from last time I had an extensive discussion with her about her career. I'll be honest, I have quite a bit of fever, so memories get a little bit fuzzy. Okay? Virgin Veranda any day now. Look! There was a Virgin Veranda. Last week? Yeah, I think it was last week. It was scuffed, but there was a Virgin Veranda last week, okay? And, I don't know when the next one's gonna be, but... Shaking my head, she needs to get into 3D art. She needs to get into lewd art. That's what she needs to do. Imagine if Melon finally put her Coomer brain to productive applications. So mad he started an actual fit. Yeah, that's me fucking coughing. What you want to call that? God, you know what I hate the most? When you have a fever and you're coughing, you get this feeling like your blood's pressure. Like you get a headache on each cough. You get the fucking blood pressure thing. It's horrible. Anyways, let's go join Chinchilla. It's time. Oh no, this view. Also, yeah, I'm feeling feverish and slept like 4 hours today, and I streamed StarCraft 2 during this. Holy shit, nice. Or not nice, I don't know.
Yeah, so, Jones, are you able to set up your webcam? Or?
Deactivate it.
Hey, thanks for the like,
Yo,
Kyle Braxton. How are you doing?
Much. How's everyone
Hello,
doing?
Nem. Hey, FBI
Happy
agent.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Just give us a second. So Senpai Chow will join us as well as Dan.
Hello.
Oh yeah, Dan the Step. Hell yeah.
So
Banger.
it's going to be interesting where we go from here. But Dan just messaged me. He's going to be 5 minutes later because of the fact that he's in a traffic jam. So he probably lives in California or something, you know.
There you go. I was just in traffic too, but I planned it out perfectly. So.
Welcome, Chow.
Hey.
Welcome.
I like your new name, Manon.
Sorry?
My name was closer to your name, but you moved it. Feels bad. It's fine. Fine.
What? Did he change his name? What?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
He's. I think he's mean because I'm like moving names around on my stream to. So like,
Yeah.
and the people keep moving too, so it's great.
But that's the thing.
Great.
That's the thing.
So
I
great.
do this later on.
Yeah,
So that's a trick because I have like I will transition that in like different.
yeah, it's
Going
gonna move
so
again
well.
too.
If like if you go off on a tangent or something, I'm just basically doing that. It's pretty much what happens. So no, just
Yeah.
kidding. But welcome everybody. We still are going to get one more guest, but he will be joining us later. So
At a self-development
today
camp
we
tomorrow, excited but
actually-
nervous.
we
Nice.
thought, let's have some guests on. I
45
thought
students
that
from my entire university got it, and that
might
sounds
be
awesome.
interesting and to see how things goes. So today we have Captain Jones with us. Welcome, Captain Jones.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Is it like Captain A Jones or?
You can just call me Cap.
Okay.
Just call me Captain. That will be keep my rank the same. You know what I mean?
Okay, and then for the rest, we have our regulars like Elysium, Neyman, and Senpai Chow. So thank you guys for joining as well. Today's topic is going to be Russia, and just as briefly spoken with like Elysium, it's an insane big topic. So I doubt we can even cover like a huge part of it. I doubt that, but
Heck, you know.
let's see how it goes. So generally how we do this over here, Captain, is like basically we the person who brings up the topic gets to do like a introduction about the topic, and then people can have their own takes on the topic, and then we go in the open debate. Basically.
Sounds good. Just let me know
So-
when I can blood sports. Just let me know when I can start insulting people's intelligence. Let me know when I can, make myself an enemy of everyone here. Just let me know. Just give me a thumbs up or a That's great. Thank you.
and
For
it's
that.
Yo, where's
generally-
Prime? I thought is this a Prime panel? What? I don't see Prime.
Well, you got
Oh,
the
hello.
model-
I'm Prime's new moderator. I'll be I'll be making sure that the blood is flowing through the streets. The rivers will run red. Okay.
Listen up, aren't you like a prime mod as well? So Captain, so I'm a mod. So you got two moderators of Prime. So I hope that will do. Ciao.
Okay.
So, but that being said, let's give it up to you then, Captain, to do the introductions, and let's see what you specifically want to talk about. Hello? Hello?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said nama.
No.
Okay. I got it. I'm sorry. Somebody just said something to me in my chat, and I need to ban them. So that's fine. So Russia. Yeah. What do I think about Russia? There's you can't go to a land war in Russia, and you should not just go there in general, like because it's cold as fuck. And so but no, in all seriousness, I think Russia has way too much fucking power over in Europe right now, mainly because they're supplying most of the energy for the EU, for the countries in that region. So I don't think that it's a good thing that the entire region relies on Russia for its entirety of its energy, and I don't think that it's a good thing that we've allowed Russia to be bullies in the region, take Crimea, etc. I think that this is basically the new Cold War, where Russia is attempting to become another world, again, a world superpower. Although they're definitely far behind the other world superpowers out there. I still don't think that I want the Russian hegemony, so to speak, to spread as it's been doing under Putin. So yeah, but I'll let the panel.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess my opening after looking at stuff, I'd say that Russia remains like geopolitically relevant as a global power. Definitely less so than its days as the USSR, or even the days before that. And I think overall it struggles with significant like structural and social and political problems that are hindering it from being like developing economically and geopolitically. And so I think it's going to continue to recede in that global power, though it still like has some relevance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Chow.
I think we could all agree that Russia is an adversary to the United States. Russia has done a lot of things that the United States doesn't like, including interfering in our elections of the United States as well as our allies, undermining democracy. However, there are a lot of areas that the United States has to work with Russia in tandem in order to achieve those global initiatives, such as making sure that the threat to nuclear war is as low as possible. Recently, there's been a lot of treaties that have been going back and forth. Also, thanks to Trump. Thank you very much to Trump to giving us a lot of problems with that. Biden is doing what he can, and it's kind of mixed. Like with the new START treaty, we've extended that, but Biden, the United States did not rejoin the Open Skies Treaty, and I'm pretty sure the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty is a bit shaky. Things like that, etc., etc. So Russia is a threat, but it's also not like the enemy that it was during the Cold War. A lot of things have changed since then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Nate.
Well, I think Russia's. It's always been a fascinating country, right? Captain Jones was memeing about how it's inhospitable and classic. You can never win a land war in Russia. Russia will always be indomitable militarily as far as invasions go, simply because of its climate. Russia seems to be seems to always throughout history simultaneously have both an immense concentration of power, natural resources, human resources, and absolute misery and exploitation and extremely abusive politics. There was a hope, I feel like, in the 90s that they would finally transition to what we would conceive a more fair system as a democracy. And, well, Putin basically stepped in, hoovered up all the power, and here we are. I also think, as was pointed out, Russia is particularly complicated to deal with because we are dependent on them. It's not the same dependence as with China, where we are dependent on market and manufacturing ties, but we are dependent, for example, in Europe. Germany is very dependent on gas. I would like to nuance a little bit Captain Jones' statement. It's not entirely, Europe is not entirely dependent, but yes, there's a huge dependence on the gas pipeline. It's curious. It's something I wanted to mention. It's very curious that Europe chooses to exclude nuclear energy from the green energy classification that it's drawing up right now. But yeah, Russia's big. Okay.
I'm a memer and a dreamer, baby. Okay.
So welcome then. Welcome here. So basically, what we did like opening statements. So maybe with your thoughts on Russia as a superpower, or like what it is within the region. I think that's generally what we're talking about.
Yeah, Russia to me is not exactly as superpower as it once was, due to the kind of decentralization of their military and other forms of government. But for sure, yes, it's a threat through certain ways, such as their cyber warfare, to other forms of propaganda to the United States and their interests. And still, but to think of it as something like a military power, to say no, absolutely not. It is completely, I probably would say that it's very much a kind of system where they only just do mercenaries these days. But to the greater interest of the United States, I do, they still probably need to exist. There's going to be some existence to a government for a good long while. The Mao Treaty, including the Sky Treaty, is still need to be redone, and at least some stuff to make these interests combine at least some form of relationship, as what Trump does, which I do agree with that somewhat. However, we have to be more aware of the red baiting of their countries saying that they're like poop the government officials to or whatnot to all of that, because that's not really happening. Obviously, they're has a high intelligence, like central intelligence agencies and whatnot, but they're not as like the big threat, big daddy out there compared to like China.
Okay, so who cares to respond? Like Jones, you've been slightly attacked by name. Unbelievable. So maybe it's fair.
Wow, attacked for memeing. This is the Russia that we tried to get rid of, actually. And frankly, like this is not acceptable. This is the kind of stuff that I personally resent about these blood sportsy panels. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, no, I definitely was memeing a little bit. I don't think that like a war with Russia is on the cards in any sense. There is no possibility of that. So like, yeah, the land war in Russia is probably a meme, but if we did, I bet it would still happen. But yeah, I mean, like Russia has too much power in terms of the amount of natural gas and oil that they supply Europe, and this is what's allowing them to continue to have leverage. And I don't know exactly how we stop that, because the only other place that they're going to get their energy needs met from is in the Middle East, but that's only with oil. They don't have huge natural gas reserves, and that's where Russia is really dominant, is with their natural gas, and that's what they're supplying Europe with. So they have a ton of leverage there that I don't think is.
Isn't that problem kind of taking care of itself? Essentially, if European countries are transitioning to have more renewables and stuff, won't they be less and less reliant on natural gas from Russia?
I think in the long term, but that I think is 50 plus years off. Like in the meantime, we're going to be using natural gas as the fuel for the world, because that's just how our economies work. We are a fossil fuel dependent world, and natural gas is kind of the next stepping stone in the lessening of our CO2.
Captain, can you tell me what is like the percentage of natural gas in like energy usage from Germany, for example?
I don't know. Germany is actually one of the more.
What about the United States?
The United States uses a shitload of natural gas, but we mine most of our.
What's the percentage?
I don't know the percentage.
I think.
Okay, can you like ballpark it?
I think it's 30%.
Yeah, I believe
it's a large percentage.
Yeah, Germany has some like deals with Russia to use some of their natural gas.
Yeah, but Germany is more self-sufficient in terms of.
Cool. Okay, so I'll say that 30% is a good chunk, but it's not like everything.
No, it's not everything, but it's a huge amount
because
of
like
leverage.
it is a huge amount of leverage. Okay, so then here's a follow-up question: what is Russia getting from Germany then?
They're getting their money. They're getting their economy spiked because
Russia. There's no trade. There's no like resource. There's no resources that Germany is giving to Russia.
No, I mean, of course, that's how global trade works.
Okay, so then if that's how global trade works, then doesn't that imply that Germany has leverage over Russia as well?
No, because Germany's supplying Russia with I mean, in theory, if Germany were to let's say, like, okay, Germany stops exporting things to Russia, then Russia does the same thing to them. Germany's going to suffer more from that. I mean, because Russia's not dependent on Germany for their energy needs. I mean, and that's what.
Yeah, that's for energy needs. But what about other needs?
So, what other needs do you think that Russia is getting from Germany that they couldn't get from somewhere
I don't know.
else?
This is your argument. I'm just asking questions.
So I know I'm saying that Russia has a lot of leverage over European countries, not just Germany, but European countries in general.
Yeah, but I'm posing the difficulty to your argument into saying that wouldn't this also make sense that other countries have leverage over Russia?
Do we?
Can you say that again?
I think that's true-ish. We can put sanctions on Russia.
Isn't this how like trade generally works?
So yes and no.
Yes and no. What's
I
no
don't
part?
think that because again, in a vacuum with like, if I just pick a Central American country in America, yeah, trade flows between the two, and they're generally not going to sanction each other or disrupt that trade flow. But in Russia, we've had sanctions on them. We've had essentially a trade war with them, and they have that leverage that makes it so that we really can't do as much as I think that we would like, especially to try to get like our European allies to go along with those sanctions, because like America doesn't rely on Russia for energy production or needs, and vice versa. However, Europe does rely on Russia. They don't really rely on America, just simply because of the logistics. They rely on Russian pipelines, and they rely on Middle Eastern oil via the shipping lanes.
So I'd like to interject. First off, my impression is that Germany's decision to run the whole gas pipeline was pretty unilateral. It's not an EU thing. It's Merkel. She was like, this is going to be a good deal for us. We want that gas coming in. Germany is very, very anti-nuclear politically. It's very, very hard to bring about any sort of ecological program without also throwing nuclear out the window. So I think that also puts a lot of pressure on them. I would not say that's the European consensus. The EU officially has a stance of upholding sanctions against Russia ever since Crimea, and is firmly in, I would say, the group of countries that oppose Putin's imperialism in Crimea and abuse of human rights internally in general, right?
So when was this, like, the new pipeline deal from Germany? Do you know when it was made? Because maybe like the context over the years changed, because maybe it was before the whole Crimea ordeal. Because do you know the name or?
It's a very recent deal. The latest one is like
It was definitely after.
Yeah, it's definitely after. It's a very curious decision by Germany. Once you put it all in context, but they made it.
So just a little clarification. So Russia supplies Germany with most of the natural gas exports go to Germany. However, there's still a large amount that goes to Italy, Turkey, France, Austria. The Netherlands, Great Britain. This is just for natural gas, and they do supply these countries with a really decent chunk of their natural gas.
Okay, you say decent chunk. Talking about, you give me a number?
Because if we're talking about,
I could like.
Sorry.
All right, Germany uses 30% of its energy resources for natural gas. Okay,
37%.
Out of that 30%, how much does
50%?
57.
Roughly 60.
Yeah, just I will go and one thing I've been reading.
Yep.
Oh
Uh-oh.
God.
No, he's back. Ben?
Okay. Yeah, just a lot of this whole entire deal with Russia is done due to they have straight up a lot of competition with Ukraine. They still have very much hostile intent against each other, and due to their interests of both with the amount of food they export to Europe and their other natural resources. This, like, I have this article that I just read that specifically talks about building 2 pipelines to Germany to get around the use for Ukraine as basically just obvious sideline to them, and it's just a deal to deal with so that they cannot get their own gas to Russia much easier than to what Russia is doing. So I just where to find the. Where do you want to post that?
I DM'd it to Senpai because I don't know where to post it.
You can post it in general.
Wait a second, this isn't a percentage.
Okay.
This is the percentage of the amount of.
No, this is in billion cubic
Russia...
meters. This is in billion cubic meters. That's not a percentage.
It's the percentage of the amount of gas that Russia exports. So Russia is exporting that amount of gas to So, if you would like the percentages,
No, you're reading this wrong.
I don't believe so.
Send this to other people, and I don't want to see their opinion. But I think you're reading this wrong.
So I don't think so. I didn't say that Germany receives 57% of their natural gas from Russia. What I said was the opposite of that. That Russia supplies 57% of their supply goes to Germany. And this is just from
I think
Gazprom.
that first statement sounds accurate from my understanding of the situation.
It is. It's from this. That's what this link is saying.
Okay, yeah.
No,
yeah.
no.
Yes.
Okay. Never mind.
I didn't say the opposite, just for
Okay.
the clarification. Because
Okay.
you're right. You would be right about that.
All right.
From
So
my
then what I
understanding,
was asking
roughly
for-
60% of Germany's natural gas supply does come from Russia, though.
Where's that from? I didn't see that.
Chow, you wanted to follow up
Yeah,
with
I'll
it?
tell you a link.
Because
in
there's a
general.
reason you wanted that number, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
like,
of course, because like I want to be able to like when people say large number or excessive or things like that, it becomes like pretty difficult for me to make any sort of judgments on like those vague terminology. So like I'm just asking for clarification. I'm being a hard ass about it, yeah, but I think it's fair, yeah.
No, Senpai, you're not being fair at all right now. Unbelievable. This is just fucking unbelievable. Chinchilla, you invite me to your podcast and I get attacked immediately. This is just
Tragic.
ridiculous. I'm telling Prime. I just posted another link. I think that would be the one that you're looking for. 20% Germany, 10%
Yeah.
Italy, 10% Belarus, 6.1 Turkey, France, Kazakhstan, United Kingdom.
Makes some sense, yeah.
I think that one thing that's overstated is that a lot of Americans think that if Russia is not supplying any gas to European countries, it's like everybody is going to freeze in their own houses and that kind of stuff. I think it's generally overstated, and the reason why Germany wants to get more gas is probably because of the fact that the whole philosophy behind, like, let's say, the European Union as well is like basically like do more trade and then you become better friends. So I think for Germany, their way of thinking is like reciprocal. So that was like a point that Senpai Chow brought up, right? So yeah. So Elysium, you wanted to say something about this?
I was just more in general, like, agreeing, like, yeah, there is like a natural gas energy trade going to Germany and stuff, but like these countries aren't like solely dependent on Russia for their energy needs. It would like be a like a sort of a crisis if it was like instantly cut off. It would be just as much of a crisis as Senpai Chow was talking about before. Like there's money coming back to Russia from this, and there'd be just as much of a crisis in Russia if they didn't get the economic benefit of selling their natural resources here. As a Russian economy that seems to be pretty propped up by their fossil fuel exports and their arms exports, if either of these two industries start to like decrease or even fail, the country just becomes a deficit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Russia has PTSD from when there was the oil crash and then his entire economy fell when it was the Soviet Union, and then the Soviet Union, well, it disappeared.
Yeah, I think
Unfortunately for them, they haven't corrected that in their economy. Their economy is still mostly minerals, natural gas, etc.
Sure, and that's
yeah,
like
but then that's the whole point of like
problem
trading
for
with
them.
each other, right? Is because like we share each other's resources and we don't get into conflicts because we depend on each other. That's international.
Totally, but
codependency.
I would just counter. I would just counter with Crimea, like.
Yeah, I say
Russia
both you
clearly
and
does
Chinchilla
not-
bringing that up. I don't know how much I agree necessarily with that. Like,
Do you know what the United States did for Crimea?
Not
you
much.
tell me.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
somewhat.
We kicked Russia out of the G8. Now it's the G7.
Yeah.
And Russia has continuously
So-
tried to rejoin that group, which is a pretty prestigious group.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I just have a different opinion on like whether getting kicked out of the G8 is that big of a deal. Like, I don't think they've suffered that much.
The
from
economic
getting kicked out.
cooperation between those countries as like an elite group. Is
Well, I
like
think
a
the
pretty big deal.
sanctions are a much bigger example of a
The
repercussion.
Magnitsky Act, yeah.
Yeah.
than getting kicked out of the.
Cool.
Whatever
Okay.
summit.
So slap that onto that, right? So we have responded when it comes to Crimea.
Well, but
But we
Yes and no,
responded
Is
so
it
because
adequate?
poorly.
Okay,
I mean,
so like,
that was
so
we
you don't think it's
essentially-
an adequate response?
So yes, exactly.
Okay,
I mean,
what is an adequate
essentially,
response?
Okay, Jones and
Adequate
then
aside.
Elysium.
Oh, fine,
Jones
go
and
ahead.
then,
Not
and
to
then
say-
Elysium.
not to say that I have any idea what an adequate response would be, because while I may be a
What?
fake captain, I have no idea what a military solution
Wait,
would be to Crimea.
How can you say that what our response is inadequate and you don't have an idea of what an adequate response is?
That's gonna be
Well,
subjective.
'cause I'm not
That's a
a-
fine thing to
'cause-
say.
Because I don't think I'm necessarily an expert on responses.
So why are you giving judgments then?
Because I can, because I want to, because I'm here. I'm being asked.
Okay, let's go to Elysium
but-
then. Elysium,
Well,
what could be
no.
an
Hold on.
hold on.
Because
Jones.
Uh-oh.
The GA, what material loss did Russia?
Wait, that
suffer?
definitely has material losses, but
What? I'm asking what?
Elysium
Because
and then Chow. Elysium.
I wouldn't be able to give you specific ones off the top of my head, but like being
Oh well,
part
then
of
why are you
the-
talking about it? Wow, is this a prime panel? Got him! Fucking got him! You want to go? We can fucking go.
Okay,
The
Elysium.
opportunities that Russia has lost because it's unable to attend to annual
what?
meetings,
Like what? I'm asking
trade
for
deals.
like.
Yeah, because
trade deal.
that's what my
You're
that's
saying
what you
trade
made-
deals, but when
deals.
I said a big number, you were like, I have a problem with that. But now you're saying ambiguous trade deals. Why don't you have a problem with that? Don't you see the double standard that you're using right now in your argument?
No.
Oh well, then I don't know what to tell you. Like it's
No,
pretty
okay, so,
obvious
like,
to
do
me
you
that
want me to
you're
tell you-
making
Hold on, hold on,
an
stop.
ambiguous statement, but you don't like
It's not
when
a,
I'm
it's
making
not.
an ambiguous
I,
statement.
that's
So
pretty
what?
direct.
So
Now,
then,
like,
so then,
what
what trade
specifically
deals?
more about the
No,
trade deals?
Senpai, what trade deals then have they suffered? Like what has happened since being kicked out of the G8?
Wait, that's an impossible question to ask.
It's a really
Not.
easy question if you're making
I-
the claim that getting kicked out of the G8 was
hold on. No,
was
you don't
a good, like-
understand. So, like, say Russia
I
got
must
kicked out of the G8 when did Russia get kicked out of the G8?
I believe it was like 2012. I believe
Okay,
maybe
so,
around that time.
like, say Russia gets kicked out
More
of the
like
G8
G8 these nuts.
in 2012. Okay, I can't tell you specifically what are their material losses in, say, like year 2019, because that requires changing history and then like having some magical orb and things like that in order to tell you
Oh, does it?
that
2014.
Yeah, it does.
If they had, so if there was
2014.
actual repercussions from leaving the G8, they would be pretty obvious, and you would be able to point them out, right?
Okay, I think going back nitpicking stuff is really boring. We're gonna move on.
I agree.
Elysium,
For
go
both.
ahead.
Okay, so oh fuck, what was the word? If it was an adequate response or not aside, I think the bigger issue is that like the Crimea situation is like ongoing. It's like a continued hot-ish
So then
conflict.
let's talk about Crimea. What is your response? What is your preferred response?
I'm like dealing with a place like Crimea who has a majority of the people are Russian speakers. Nothing that much, really.
Cool, Elysium.
It depends on how committed you want to be. I mean, like, you want to find a amicable solution where like hostility.
How committed do you want to be?
I think increasing arms trade and support to Ukraine would be good. And I think we've been moving that way. I think we should, but I think we should pick up in like sophistication of arms that we're willing to sell. Would probably be my like what would be a amicable response. To increase the stakes if Russia is really going. But I mean, that's I don't know. Depends if you actually want to escalate it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it should have been escalated. Like we should have sent troops over there, and we should have put them in
No.
order. And we should have fucking because
Captain H.
Okay, so you did have an idea of what an adequate
eventually-
response would
That's
be.
a meme. That's a meme.
Eventually,
Is that a meme?
what Russia is going to do is they're going to continue to take over more space in the region.
I
Well,
would
it's-
say
what
that-
doesn't
before,
matter.
like putting troops in Crimea or like putting troops in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, yes.
In Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Do
Well,
we
I
have
mean,
troops in Ukraine,
To
by the
stop,
way?
stop.
Not really. Vaguely.
Not
maybe.
really, because
You have,
Ukraine's
like,
not a part of
observers.
NATO.
Yes, exactly.
No, they're
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
No,
I'm-
they're
NATO,
not.
even though they've wanted to be a part of NATO.
Well, I mean, I'm not as like straightforward and steadfast as you are. I'm fine. There's certain places where I think it's free up for grabs, like Levinchenko, because I think he's probably as bad as at least Putin, but at least the Putin gives at least some some like leeway for much of the citizens in his country.
So when Russia invaded Crimea, we just that's an okay thing because they speak Russian, because they're culturally Russian. Like, is it okay if Mexico invades El Paso because El Paso is culturally Mexican? Like, I just don't understand.
No.
I'm gonna steal man Dan. Okay, it's about self-determination. The majority of the Crimeans wanted to be Russian, so then there is a bit of a justification there, in that if that was their will, then that's
they could just stay.
Support, yeah,
I think they did a vote or something like that where they voted to join Russia.
But wasn't that vote clearly doctored? I mean, and hello, the Russians, voter manipulation and fraud. Like, why? I don't know. It wasn't that, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm just going based off memory.
Stick with the former argument, okay? If it was doctored, it was doctored, okay? But don't make like accusations of just association.
Why not? Are you the defense lawyer for Russia? I'm just wondering. Why can't I speculate? I'm so confused. Why you don't like me speculating?
Here's my line.
You're new here, okay? You're the new guy, okay? Like, don't think this is like, oh my god, this may be your first time that you're getting this kind of, I don't know, feedback.
I know. It's the first time I've ever been pushed back.
Pretty typical.
I've never been on a panel before. You're right.
No, not this time.
I've literally never been on a panel. I've never been in a battle royale.
Wait, hold on. Do you think all panels are made like the same?
Chow, are you mad at me?
No, I'm not.
I feel like you're mad at me.
No.
Are you okay?
No, only people who are like parasocial about getting like some sort of a pushback are gonna think that they're mad at them. Okay.
Okay, Chow. Let's move on. Let's get back to politics, right?
I'm just noticing a little nervous laughter going on.
Now I'm getting caught up with nervous laughter. Oh my god! This is a prime panel. It's a prime panel.
In a couple of seconds, Chow is going to eat some pizza on stream, and it's going to be debate tactics.
Tactical pizza.
Right, Chow. So, but besides that, let's name and
I just wanted to throw in something. I'm going to bore you, Chow and Elysium, because I've thrown this out like 50 million times in the past discussions because it was like relevant.
I love you for it.
As much as I don't think direct U.S. intervention would have had really like good consequences for anyone, the reality is that the U.S. signed a treaty together with Russia to guarantee Ukraine's borders in exchange for Ukraine abandoning their nuclear weapons. That happened in the 90s. So if we're going to look at the contract as written, the U.S. actually was supposed to be obligated to intervene militarily in Ukraine to guarantee its borders. And the U.S. did not respect that. Neither did Russia. Russia broke the borders and was one of the signatories of that treaty. So they're even more in the wrong. But I think it's interesting to point out that there is actual diplomatic legal grounds for the U.S. When the Crimea invasion happens to say like, no, we need to send troops there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that we have a missile shield defense and shit over there, fucking hella troops and
maybe just like make it.
There's a reason that there's a historical reason.
Well, can I say something?
Wait, Elysium, go ahead.
Our defense of Ukraine for their nuclear weapon disarmament is like a much better justification. I totally agree, but I mean, as we saw it played out, saying that there was a referendum, and then annexing land from another country, even if it wasn't like super questionable, that you can just violate their national sovereignty like that, I think is a very poor justification for annexing another country's land. Something like the treaty is a much better justification, but as we see, like it's still even maybe legally, you could definitely bring a case there much more. But sorry, the point I'm getting at is, I don't think anyone really wanted to see a actual war break out over that.
To me, in a way, Putin played a game of chicken, and he knew and he called it that no one would rush into the wall against him. he wouldn't have gotten out good in an all-out war either. But he knew no one else wanted to go over a war over, like, it's not a large piece of land. It's, you know.
I mean, it's similar to how Obama drew a red line in Syria, and then when that line was crossed, we didn't do shit, you know?
Yeah.
They fucking gassed their fucking people and fucking committed genocide, and what did we do? We watched. You know, we did the same thing in Crimea.
We didn't just watch. We
slapped some sanctions and stuff.
Okay, but even more than saying, if we're talking about Syria, we definitely have a much more combined arming and training of local groups and coordinating logistics for them, and supplying air power to these groups too. Like, there's definitely material
intelligence,
things that we did
supplies,
in
resources, training to the Free Syrian Army. Though one could argue
the Free
that
Syrian Army's been wiped out.
Though one could argue
ISIS
that the
and
Free
the Syrian,
hold on. Okay, come on. Okay, the argument was okay. Elysium's point is that we were involved in Syria. Okay, he wasn't arguing that that what we did there was successful. Holy shit!
Yeah. What about this? What about this, guys?
Oh my God.
Calm down, senpai.
Okay, then.
What about this? Just give, maybe just like we put the line in the sand for very clear for Ukraine, because Ukraine is pretty valuable,
What are we
right?
talking about? We're talking about
a lot
Russia.
of fertile land, resources, and whatnot, and just
Right
give
now
them
specifically,
and give the
That's what makes Ukraine viable.
Ukraine,
no,
and Crimea,
viable. Like
and
they
Russia.
were a breadbasket. But then diplomatically give Russia like a way to just say, oh, you're okay to go after Belarus because they're not that much resources. There's a dictator who is like kind of crazy on there, and there's pretty much, and it's landlocked, so there's not much of a use for us.
Like, then shouldn't we like aim to
wait? Are we putting Belarus's sovereignty as a state?
Yeah, but it's a dictator. Come on.
Yeah, so I just want to wait before you go, Chow. Like, honestly, like if you talk about like international policy, you generally don't want to give up on one state and then make sure that you get like that you get in good favors with Russia, so that the other states can be more aligned to us or something. I think that's like a personal choice to make.
That seemed to be a very poor precedent to set with like international politics, but like I don't think Russia would ever trade the relationship with Belarus to have, like, if we're looking at allies to Russia, the Balkans right now, besides Iran, who else is Russia strongly tied with right now?
Syria, Assad.
Okay, that is useful.
Turkey.
No, not with Turkey.
It's not always successful.
Actually, just recently today, there's going to be a summit. Now, this doesn't imply that there's going to be this doesn't imply that there's a friendly relationship between Turkey and Russia, but because of Syria, I would say that it's trending positive because Turkey is really interested in getting rid of the Kurds, and so is Russia. Those interests are aligned.
Yeah, but Turkey's interest after that is to get rid of Syria as well. Those interests are not aligned.
Yeah, whereas Russia wants to keep us up.
Yeah, see, like that's really interesting for Turkey. So, studying Syria is like really complicated. It's lasted for I think like now more than a decade. Turkey before really wanted, I would say, Assad to be removed, but then when other things came in its way, I think Turkey has altered its priorities. So then first is, like already mentioned before, is the Kurds. Not first, okay, in any order. Getting rid of the Kurds is a priority, a bigger priority for Turkey. And also making sure that there isn't another refugee crisis where there's an influx of refugees into Turkey. They definitely don't want that happening. And so then, like, I think Turkey just has a lot more priorities than getting rid of Assad that then pushes them closer to cooperating with Russia. Because I'll die on this hill that in a way there is stability in the borders when Assad is in charge, when the Syrian conflict is over.
Sure, but one of those priorities is to annex more land along that border, not just the Kurdish land.
Wait a second.
So they're going to look for concession.
Turkey is interested in annexing lands in Syria?
Yeah.
Can I get a source on this?
They sent like like what is it, like 10?
They've got the 10
Or-
kilometer corridor that they're patrolling right now. That's theirs, but the plan is to push that
Yeah,
further
but
and further
that's
out.
not annexation.
Yeah, but that's what the goal is.
Okay, the goal. So then, where's the stated goal? That's what the source that I would like on.
Okay,
You need a stated. Nope. You need a source on this, or else it doesn't count. Sorry, guys. No speculating allowed. Senpai Chow doesn't like it.
You're right. I don't like it.
I think you can
No
say, like,
speculating.
if we go back to the topic at hand with Ukraine, like honestly, what's going on in East Ukraine is definitely try to divide that country up.
Mhm.
So to say that, like, I maybe with Turkey is like totally different, but I would definitely say like East Ukraine, there's definitely like a play thing that Russia tries to play to basically to split this country up and maybe gobble up more territory. Don't you think so, Chow?
Yeah, so then if you wanted to look at, say, the political elections of Ukraine, there's an east and west divide, and it's so clear. East, which is allying more closely with Russia, and then the west is more with the EU, et cetera, and you could just like see in the voting patterns based on that. Yeah,
Okay.
there's something there that's going on, and it's more so like happening from both sides. But I don't think Russia is really interested. And like, okay, this is my speculation. All right, if anybody wants to call me
Nope,
on
not
that.
allowed. Don't
All right.
do it.
Haha.
It's allowed. It's allowed.
I don't
sorry.
think. This is just my opinion. I don't think Russia is interested strategically in annexing Ukraine because what is there to gain from annexing Ukraine?
National hegemony.
National hegemony.
Absolutely.
In the face of like getting closer to the EU, and then also getting closer to, I guess, like what would be more escalation militarily. Like, yeah, one could say that Crimea is like one sign of the United States and its allies not fulfilling its promises.
If you have this
treaties,
worldview, like,
but like,
how do you justify annexing Crimea in the first place if they're not looking to annex more land?
Crimea is pretty small, and when looking at the consequences of, like, I guess, like responding to Crimea, it really wasn't that worth it. But I think like one half of Ukraine is a bigger deal than Crimea. That would probably it's more weighted. That would probably lead to a more, I guess, like a resolute response from the United States and its allies.
Like
I don't think Russia is interested in military altercations, but I do think it is interested in expanding its presence and its power. And I think the reason why Russia is like doing this, like, I would say pretty slowly, Crimea, Georgia, et cetera, is that it knows it has to play this slow game with its current strategy. And I would say that at its current pace, it's not a good strategy.
How do you think that slow game plays out? Yeah. It starts out, you move in, you cause a military conflict, you claim it's civil war, you claim the other side referendum-wise wants to join you, and you continually push that border of how much you're annexing of Ukraine over time. I don't understand.
Yeah. It sounds like pretty similar to what Nazi Germany did with appeasement, the policy of appeasement from France and
this is different. This is way different than that. I'm taking my historian card on that.
Yeah,
I think it's very different. I think especially.
Dan, you wanted to respond to this because you're the historian here.
Yeah, like I'm one thing about, but like it's a different version of like trying to gain land through all that, but it's not going by, obviously these states are saying now this is Russian territory. This is we declare annexation of this land. I think more this is like soft influence. Like where did
don't worry about it. Continue.
There's a soft influence to much of the whole area to under their more economic and somewhat in governmental control, but not in a like open way. And I think it's a different, like, sure. I mean, we can do some. I mean, there's some quotes that I think you'll agree with you, like we're doing some appeasement matters, and I even gave one option to that. but I obviously am not like for complete appeasement. I think we have to be clear that we don't want to have this Russia start creeping in and wanting to take over its old USSR lands. And I do think we have to put forth at least a good measure of diplomatic defense in much of these putting treaties and deals with much of other countries like Latvia, Estonia, Latvia, and all those other places that are definitely are in danger, even Lithuania and all that.
Yeah, because
what do you think that would be agreeable, Chow?
Okay, so it really depends on how. So then I would say probably arming its military in order for self-defense is like pretty good, but then we also run the risk of military escalation and things like that. I am less in favor of that than more so I would say like I guess more diplomatic means of state building that would make them a lot more stable and also a lot more able to defend itself against Russia, not by military means, but like other means such as protecting its government, its infrastructure, and like having them have a stable economy in which they no longer have to like have this idea of we have to rely on Russia or else we're going to go under, etc.
Those are
etc.
fucking independent countries, Richard.
As a historian, probably I want to mention that this is kind of the approach that we took when it came to.
They aren't rightfully Russia's.
Shit. The Marshall Plan, etc., etc.
I mean, sure. Like to me, I stay out for being a prophet and predicting what's going to happen in the future. I'm much of my policy decisions always based by historical precedent. As you mentioned, the Marshall Plan is a great example of certain things that we've done to help economically build up these countries while having some form of defense towards a upcoming hostile USSR and whatnot. And I mean, we could do something similar with like obviously with Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. In those countries that are small, Finland, probably not exactly. You don't exactly need it because obviously Winter War brings up to mind how the Russia ever dealt with them.
They were satellite states, but they were still separate states.
Like
those lands
like
never belonged to Russia. You
like
dumb fuck.
Ukraine isn't in the NATO.
Right? I'm sorry.
That's the issue here because the Baltic states are. So when you talk about like some of these Baltic states, one of them has like on the east they have like a Russian minority, but I wouldn't like. They definitely
they did actually belong to Russia.
Russia wouldn't go there.
That's more complicated than that, but
I mean, I don't think it's Finland's not a viable place to be taken over for sure. A lot of
that would be weird. That would be just weird. Because,
hey, they tried, and they got hit by the ski snipers.
Yeah, ski snipers, and you had a bunch of the one place you don't want even ever to invade in is Finland. To the main point, we need to. I obviously we can't escalate it. So obviously to what the measures as Simpai Chow has given us was economically building up Ukraine to be more viable as a measure to help spend for the military and defend itself with.
Sorry.
You want? Actually, I was about to finish. Lyceum.
Yeah, I was more gonna agree with what Chinchilla said. I really don't see the potential for this to happen anywhere else because the Baltic countries already are members of NATO. Like besides Ukraine, Belarus, and Moldova. There doesn't seem to be an option to employ any of these style of tactics in these countries. So I don't know that Russia would even try something like that, or like the idea that we need to bolster them up from Russia. Military doesn't make sense because they're already part of NATO. Like militarily, we should already be allied with them in a much more concrete way than the disarmament of Ukraine. Maybe diplomatically, we want to be good.
Name
what. I mean, yes and no. Like it's really important, for example, that Poland, as one of the countries protected by NATO, has a bunch of American military bases on the land. It's not just like a promise that there's going to be military. There are actual bases in Eastern Europe. I think that really matters. Especially when we're talking about, because what I perceive in Putin's decision to annex Crimea is, I earlier talked about playing chicken. It's also about opportunism. If he sees a chance to make some kind of geopolitical play, to exert power or show power or accumulate power, I think he'll do it. He's obviously very Machiavellian. He will. And I'm not saying this in like an anime villain type person. He's just like a really smart politician who wants to do what's most effective to exert the power of his country, and for that reason, I think it's actually really, really important. I don't know that, for example. Obviously, troop deployments are a form of escalation in geopolitics, and there's something to be treated carefully. But those are the kinds of things that really are decisive in making sure that Eastern Europe feels safe. And maybe that's even more important than whether Putin actually is capable of aggression against any Eastern European country or not. It's that also internally. Citizens in Eastern European countries feel safe. They don't feel like they. You talked about stability earlier. There are like weird things happening in political scenes in like Belarus. Poland is a really far right government right now as well. But if the people in the country feel like they're protected by Western interests, like Western interests have their back, then that also is perhaps a form of stability in the internal politics and makes us for a stronger Eastern Europe, I would say.
Yeah, and not to like switch, just to compare it to like Trump, or to bring up why another reason I fucking hated Trump was because he was telling these countries like, oh, you have to spend more on your militaries or else, we're gonna pull out and blah blah blah. Like in terms of like realpolitik, I don't like, oh, I hate that we have bases over there, blah blah blah. Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, we live in this real world where we have to have bases over there.
Why does that suck?
Oh, I guess I just mean in like, I would like to live in a world where we didn't have to have bases over there, like the bleeding heart. What should we call it? What would that be? The virtue signaling.
Wait, calling NATO allies that they're not spending appropriate portion of their GDP on their obligations. It's like one of the good things that Trump probably said. Like his rationale and like threats around it were dumb as fuck. But like, the United States has an obligation to say, hey, we have an agreement to spend our 3% GDP to be a strong NATO, and you need to hold that up. And you should pressure Germany to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think we went around about it the wrong way. I mean,
sure.
Yes, people should be paying their fair share, but I also think that like some of these countries would have been better off using that GDP in a much more productive way.
Yeah, I want to go around and respond back to Alicia.
Wait, 2%. Like 2%, isn't a lot annually, and also like this is for like security, collective security. Like how I don't know if there's like a better way to utilize that GDP, unless like maybe you want to think about. No, not even the Japan model, because Japan also spends some percentage of its GDP on its defense forces. So, like, I think security is a pretty good, it's a pretty good.
I think the United States took the reins on being the world police, and they need to live up to that standard. Like,
no.
We spend fucking more than everybody else.
But that's only because our GDP is so much more. This is way overstated. America meets roughly 3 to 3.5 to 3.6% of its GDP on military. It's not like this absurd meme that people make it out to be.
Yeah, okay. I want to go around and respond to Elysium on that Baltic state. Yes, I disagree respectfully that Russia has actually put a lot of troops on the border of the Baltic states. And they have done many different kinds of attacks on, like, I believe they did a cyber attack on Estonia a couple of times, and they did a lot of other propaganda efforts in sizing up their Russian minorities to, like, I don't know, to take over the state. And this to what might matter. I still, even if they're part of NATO, they're still very much under like some form of siege, or at least diplomatically, at least right now. And I would still go with that same like suggestion as I put forth earlier.
I have no problem with investing more in their infrastructure and diplomatically building them up and stuff. But like, as far, I just feel like the situation is much more ironclad. If there is an aggressive action towards Estonia that is like directly related to the Russian government, the response from America is going to be very different than in Ukraine. A response from the entirety of Europe is going to be very different. Like, NATO is going to be ironclad in not allowing a NATO country to be invaded.
Also, I wanted to say something. Like earlier, this was brought up that Eastern Ukraine, if that got invaded, it would be like or be annexed, or whatever you want to call it. Like that would be like a bigger deal. I would disagree on that, because like Sevastopol is like a hot water port, and it was like basically like Putin's wet dream to have like finally a hot weather port, because he didn't have one, and that it's like for strategic reasons that is like extremely important. And when it comes to Eastern Ukraine, like currently, like it's pretty destroyed. I'm not quite sure about the resources, but I think it's mostly just farmland. So it's not that interesting. But obviously, like they play there. The Russians definitely play a game there as well, right? It's like not like the same with Crimea. Russian sympathizers joined the fight, but they were fully decked out with like soldier uniforms, and they were like just sent in by Russians, right? So, and that's kind of what's going on. I don't know to the extent of how much they send in like actual Russian soldiers in East Ukraine, but they definitely support that the East Ukraine effort to get independent.
And when we're talking about like,
chill, let's be real here. Is that like Ukraine is a buffer state, right? And this is a buffer state that is recognized by both Europe and Russia. And so then if Russia were to like go into Ukraine actually and annex it, then it's going to compromise the value of it being a buffer state. Okay, in Crimea, okay? But I'm talking
about Ukraine.
Like, a huge chunk. I'm talking about 1/2 of Ukraine.
It depends on how much. There has to be a certain amount.
They're never going to do it. They're going to take it little by little.
No, it needs to be, that was not enough. You know what I mean? That's like, they come in, they only take a little bit of land. It's like they took like San Francisco. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. Oh, wait a second.
I guess I don't really understand that argument. I would say that
I don't either.
Okay,
as far as we're talking about what do we want to see to happen in Ukraine, I think like the dream solution really at the end of the day is like from an American perspective, we can sell arms, we can like work with them diplomatically, but I'd really like to see a European centered response to this, and Europeans got to figure out their own shit.
Yeah, I would too. Well, I don't think they have to figure out their own shit. Okay.
Well, we'd want to see Germany to step up.
Okay, the United States can also assist. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, 100%. Okay. I think the United States needs to be like the linchpin of
because America's never going to occupy Crimea. We're never going to.
Well, I don't think we're going to
be that committed.
But in terms of the military response, that's going to keep Russia from actually doing something and taking more land in Ukraine or in the region.
America's never going to commit troops. It's only ever going to commit arms, but that's why you need a European-centered solution.
So then, like, if the United States isn't going to commit troops, what gives you the expectation that any other country is going to commit troops?
Or that they'd be able to commit enough. I mean, that's part of the problem. The reason that we have troops over there is because they would have no way of defending themselves.
What? These countries aren't inept. That's no.
Well,
I don't think they're inept. Okay, that's not my perspective. Okay, but Elysium, I think it's really important. I think it's really important that when judging foreign policy or when talking about geopolitics, so far this panel has been talking about like what can we do that will like undermine Russia. But then we're not really considering what countries are willing to do, right?
Okay.
And like as you already mentioned before, and like this hasn't really been the focus, or like it really should be a focus, is that the United States is not willing to commit troops, for really, really good reasons, and so are a lot of countries that are not willing to commit troops to foreign stuff for really good reasons. They want to protect their own citizens and things like that. They have their own interests in mind. And so then, when it comes to Crimea, I would say not that big of a deal. But like one half of Ukraine that will actually cause a national security issue on the entire eastern front of Europe, that's going to be a lot bigger deal that I think would warrant a larger response, a more involved response. But that's not happening.
There is no in a hypothetical world where all of Ukraine gets annexed, Romania and Poland and Austria, Czech Republic, these are already NATO member states. There's nowhere else to go. This doesn't become an existential threat to any other countries.
Wait, so are you saying that if Ukraine were to get annexed, that it would just be fine?
I'm saying theoretically, you're not. Romania is not going to feel like it's going to be invaded next. It's a member of NATO.
Okay, yeah, but don't you see how if there's going to be a belligerent state that's right next to you on your borders, that's something really worrying? Even though they may not necessarily invade you, that it's still a problem.
So this is actually the type of leverage that I was talking about. I don't think that Germany is going to be able or willing to help in the region if Russia is pressuring and doing stuff like softly annexing Crimea over
audio
a
just
large...
went down.
Audio thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What the fuck is going on?
Bro, this is everybody. Chinchilla sounds like shit.
Yeah, it sounds like it's compressed. Basically, Discord's having issues.
Everyone sounds terrible.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Okay.
It's back.
Oh my god, Discord.
Cool.
Discord, what the fuck?
Who's not paying for Discord here? Who's not paying? Oh shit, I'm not paying. Fuck.
Okay, I would blame. I think the power level of Chow is getting a little bit too high. He's sucking the Discord energy and getting more powerful each time he brings up a meme or whatnot.
Stop speculating, people, please.
Listen up, it is Russia, guys. We all know it. So let's go to name.
Yeah, I want to interject. This is a really weird hypothetical because Russia has nothing to gain from invading the rest of Ukraine. Like Chinchilla said, Putin wanted the port onto that port city. He got what he wanted, and anything else is just going to be more trouble than it's worth. Both as in foreign policy, EU would be really pissed at him. The US would be we would all be even more pissed at him. The Ukrainians would be even more pissed at him. He would have to deal with a bunch of Ukrainians. And he wouldn't really gain anything out of it. What's the tactical advantage, the geopolitical advantage of the rest of the country?
Ideological.
Yeah, I mostly disagree with this.
I don't think he needs that ideologically.
Why are they still committing mercenaries then? Why are you still committing mercenaries? And part of your military.
Wait, hold on. Are these mercenaries? But are these mercenaries from Russia? Or are these mercenaries already in Ukraine that are being armed and funded?
Have you heard of the Wagner Group, Chow? Senpai Chow?
Wow, it really rings a bell. Okay.
Yeah,
Do they make music or
no? It's a straight up a mercenary group that basically hires former soldiers or whatnot to random everyday people. They sent some of them even were sent to Syria and they fought American soldiers.
Okay, and what does that imply?
It implies
does it imply that Russia wants to annex Ukraine?
It implies that Russia seems to want to invest into a mercenary model for their military.
Okay,
and that they're a direct arm of the government.
And then for what goal? What is the end goal? For
that's gonna be speculation. So as far as motivation, I think this is gonna be interesting because we're getting into, we kind of brought this up why would Russia want it in the first place? Besides the port, I think a big motivation is following the USSR. There was kind of a replacement in the ideology of Russia from the communist and communism and the communist state to being just a more straightforward nationalistic identity in Russian hegemony. And so reuniting the Russian people, whoever you ethnically see as the Russian people, I think is one of the driving forces of Russian identity right now.
So I think that also one thing actually is that Ukraine used to be like aligned to Russia pretty closely, and they shifted away from that, and that's the issue. What they are having with Ukraine, if Belarus would shift away from Russia, that probably we would see the same sorts of tactics, right? So, I think. Like,
but the goal with Belarus is to integrate it back into Russia, right? It's just as long as that's going to happen diplomatically, it's all good. The second that you move away from Russia diplomatically and you start aligning with the West, and it looks like diplomatic integration isn't going to happen to reincorporate that Russian unity, it's going to become a more aggressive thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think it's more reasonable to believe that what Russia is doing on that front is to influence those countries and gain allies, or to at least influence those countries in a way that supports more of Russia's initiatives than other countries' initiatives. Okay. Saying that like the end goal is complete annexation, I think is too far of a stretch.
Yeah, it could be like it could be
Russia.
Like they historically play the long game, right? So that might be like in 40 years or 50 years that they will play upon that. So they don't do that right now.
That's exactly what I was.
I think it's
that's
pretty,
a great point, because
I think it's pretty clear the end goal.
Georgia and Crimea, I think, are the good examples of like that.
I think Belarus is the best example of this. In order to maintain your government, you're like very tied to Russia now, and they've just unveiled even more, making their energy grids more intertwined, making their economics more intertwined, and giving them economic loans. You become like the sole supporter of that state, and your eventual move is for a complete integration.
So I guess that's why I brought up natural gas at first, actually, because like in terms of like, so if we're thinking like a regional response is what's needed, and for Russia to be stopped, then like Germany's not going to be able to do anything if they are, highly reliant on natural gas. So that's the leverage that they have.
If Germany needed to get its energy somewhere else, it could. No one is like
could
reliant on Chinchilla. Absolutely. You can buy your natural gas from the Middle East if you want to. You can shift it to oil and buy it from the Middle East if you want to. You can have enough renewable energy in there eventually over time that you can get all your natural gas in the next 20 years. Yes.
What if there was like a situation where
you can get it?
Like
you can get it from Norway and America to replace the Russian supply. Like the idea that Germany can do nothing.
But America would have to. Okay, so
what do you think America's going to do with its okay?
So,
so right now we have a bunch of natural gas, right? What do you think we're going to end up doing with it when we become in the next 20 years more renewable?
We only export so much of our natural gas. It's a very small percentage
because we're using
the reason. Partially, yes, but the other main reason is that there is no efficient way to get our natural gas over to Europe other than by boat. So like until we have this amazing pipeline, the Atlantic pipeline or something, it's not actually feasible for us to get our natural gas over there. And
it's not as efficient as getting it from Russia now.
But when I say it's not as efficient, it's like nowhere near as efficient. It makes it almost an unviable option. And 20% of an economy's energy is a lot. Like, because that's just how you can't just replace.
You're talking like 12%. Your 12% of their energy is coming directly from Russia, because it's 20% is coming from natural gas and 60% of that is coming from Russia.
I want to quickly
that's just your energy production.
I want to quickly respond, because we in the Netherlands we have like a lot of natural gas resources, but we are not currently using it because of the fact that if you're gonna drill, if you're gonna do fracking, like definitely with like a country as the Netherlands, which is like slowly sinking right into the ocean. Yeah, it's actually sinking. So if you do that, it combined with fracking, it gets like a lot of pushback from the locals, because basically their houses are going broke. Like it's like the foundation and everything. So there are definitely like options for Europe to get their resources.
I think
this is like, again, this is coming back a little bit to the meme that if Russia doesn't supply gas to Europe, everybody is going to freeze in their home and that kind of stuff.
Like it just gives a defense to Germany to do nothing when they have options. They're not inept. They're not optionless. They can make decisions. Their hand is not that forced.
I guess I worry about the leverage that Russia has. And also it's not just natural gas. We've been focusing on natural gas, but that's not the only thing Russia has. They have a ton of mineral, and I posted a link in the chat for that as well.
Of all their
a bunch of resource exports as well. So like, I think that's the reason that we saw, in my opinion, such a lackluster response to Crimea. And like something also Chinchilla pointed out was that Crimea has, I think it's the port of Sevastopol, which is a deep water port leading to the ocean, or to the Mediterranean. So like it's a super important pipeline for, not pipeline literally, but pipeline for just goods and services and energy exports, imports, etc.
I gotta push a little bit back because I understand what you're saying there, but it still runs into the same problem that Russia has with all their other stuff. It's cut off by Turkey and Greece. It doesn't. It's good. It's nice, but this is like does not change the strategic playing field in a monumental way. Not enough to cover the sanctions that they've got from taking Crimea for sure.
I think it's mostly because they wanna have like a naval like power all year round. They wanna have that.
But that's never going to compete with. It's never going to compete with Greece and Turkey.
Yeah, but they sure have like a boner for that. But it's definitely like a thing that I always wanted, and it was like pretty clear that I always wanted that. So, but to say like it's a huge accomplishment. Maybe they didn't expect this kind of pushback. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know if they if it outweighs each other. Like I'm honestly like, then we need to know like everything. That's
yeah.
But yeah, it's but. Name, did you wanted to say something on this?
Yeah, on the subject, I don't think, first off, like, sure, Turkey has a strong military. Greece, I don't know.
Navy. We're not talking about, we don't care about anything but Navy as far as this goes.
Sure. I think, I still think, honestly, I would be surprised if Putin's like regretting his decision. He wanted that tactical option of being able to have a navy in the Black Sea off of that port. He got it, and he got sanctioned in return. Sanctions are bad. The country's in trouble economically. It's stagnating. It's still really rich because of it. It's got resources, but that's like all it's got going for it right now. I think he's okay with that trade. Probably sees it as a win still. I would disagree on the assessment that it's like a net loss for Russia, because it depends what you want. Like does he want the economic development, or does he want military projection? He obviously made the choice that military projection was far more important for him. Whether it is more important or not is like a whole other debate, but that's the choice he made, and he got what he wanted.
Yeah, and plus the economic benefits from the port itself.
There's that too.
It's like those are the things that they're weighing, and I totally agree. Putin is a fucking evil mastermind, Machiavelli.
I said he's not an anime villain, okay? He's
top 10 anime villain.
No.
Top 5.
It's like
top 5.
A weird glorification of like the people do this with China all the time. Like because someone's willing to make like authoritarian decisions, they have to be like a genius in making really good decisions. I really don't understand it, because a lot of these like, they're subjective to a degree, but if you're gonna assign like a geopolitical calculus to them of like net benefits and stuff, like a lot of these things are bad. A lot of these, like a single person can't anticipate all the needs or expectations of a country, and they make mistakes. I mean, we see this all the time with China. I think there's a direct parallel to just authoritarianism in general. Just it makes mistakes.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism, and I didn't want to characterize it like some kind of master plan. It's more just that I don't think I think sanctions is exactly what he expected. He didn't expect military intervention. He must have expected something. There was no way no one was going to do anything. So sanctions are like the obvious response to what he was doing. That's what I meant. Like, and if we're talking about the well-being of the country, he fucked up. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Russian people are worse off economically right now because of the context than they would be if he hadn't done that. Even if there is the economic benefit of the port, etc., that isn't worth that much when like half the world has, well, like the Western world has implemented sanctions against you. That being said, like, he obviously doesn't give a shit about. Not that he doesn't give a shit at all about it, but it's obviously not his priority in how he wants to lead the country.
And that's just the nature of him being authoritarian, not actually having real elections, or him extending his term indefinitely. Wait, was that him?
Yeah.
Did he do
but
that?
these things become
right?
related. When the country does worse, you have to employ more drastic means to maintain your false elections and stuff like that. And like the cracks begin to show. I think targeted sanctions have proved like potentially crippling. Not just like the grand economic deficit from broad sanctions is bad, but I think if the targeting of individuals and reducing their ability to wield wealth in a mafia bribery corruption state, I think does have lasting political consequences to them. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's hard to ever say until we get like a post-mortem instead of looking in the future, but like,
yeah, so isn't this to say that like our response to Russia's activities have been, like, if not adequate, they do have some effect.
They do have effect for sure.
So I would actually like to back that up. So I'm looking at a chart of the ruble to the USD, and it looks like in 2014, it basically lost like 2/3 of its fucking value. So yeah, wow, those sanctions really did fucking work, and it's looking real shitty right now. Like the USD is crushing it.
Well, yeah.
Well, would you be able to know if it was actually caused by the sanctions?
I mean, I guess I could like do a timeline.
It would be safe to say that it's a non-zero amount caused by the sanctions.
Well, what I would say is that something happened.
A non-zero amount by the G8 too, right?
I mean, something. Yeah. Well, what clearly happened was something in 2013 at the towards the middle to end part of 2013, heading into 2014 is when it literally just went off. I'll post it in chat.
But we see
June 4th to 5th, the G7 had an alternative meeting without Russia in 2014 due to association with the Crimean crisis. I mean, like, this is not to say that like it's only economic sanctions or it's only obviously it's all intertwined. It's all part of this international relations of, hey, we had this relationship before. Economically, we were both benefiting from it, but since you fucked up, well, now you don't have that privilege anymore. And like, yeah, I think everybody is worse off, but I think who is more worse off is Russia. And like, I would say that maybe if this happened 50 years before, the outcome wouldn't have been the same because we didn't have the same relationship. We didn't have the same infrastructure in which like a lot of large countries, economically rich countries, were able to just like group together and be like, and single another country out. That wasn't possible back then, but now it is. Like, this is the new world order. And so I think like a lot of arguments that are like based in history, I don't deny that it didn't happen in history, but then it isn't to say that it's bound to repeat.
Post the Illuminati, get those Illuminati fucking emotes in chat, boys.
God
okay?
damn it! Oh
you
my
heard
God!
it here, New World Order.
Because it's an academic term that's been co-opted by the fucking far right. Holy shit!
Yeah.
NWO.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Prison planet.
Be clear. It even though it's not going to happen the same way, it rhymes though. It kind of. It doesn't.
Oh my God! Are people saying I'm dog whistling? Wait, are you saying I'm dog whistling?
No. I was joking. I was memeing.
I know you were joking, but like Dan seems really serious. Wait, what are you saying?
No. Like the term, like it comes from a phrase that Mark Twain says, like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
I knew the George Lucas version when he says that his trilogies rhyme.
Okay, so we covered a lot of.
Wasn't Mark Twain an author?
Yeah, Mark Twain was a
Yeah,
writer.
but he also has. He's
He
also
just had a banger quote, right?
You know, no, he
plenty
also is like a critic on, I think, certain efforts of imperialism and such like that.
So was Marx. Where did I lead him?
So
okay, why?
I wanna move on a little bit towards like the internal politics of Russia, because we kind of scratched that a little bit.
Talking about geopolitics, right?
Well, it's
internal politics are part of that.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important because of the fact that if you look at like the connections that we made, like in the 90s, we thought, oh, Russia is gonna be our friend after this thing, right? And then we set up like connections, and then basically with like Crimea, we are dialing that back, right? Because of the fact that we see like Russia slowly slipping in like more authoritarian and more with Putin, and basically how he sets up the government. So maybe we can do like opening statements about this, and then we can move to open debate again. So
I'm not sure what the question is.
So like basically the internal politics. So about the authoritarian stuff. So the poisoning, maybe the how you call it?
Wait, poisoning? What?
Poisoning.
The Navalny. When they poisoned Navalny and
a few other people. Yeah.
I thought he was just sick.
He was just sick.
It is a theory / speculation.
Oh, it's
yeah. Allegedly poisoned. Don't slander the great kingdom of of Russia like that, okay?
Okay, and
you're good. I'm sorry.
Maybe about how they even do like internal politics with like the trolling, which is also like going outside Russia for the weather. But maybe we can do that. So it's a general open question, but like the internal politics. So I don't know who wants to go first on that one.
I'll lead the charge. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I think like
aye, Captain.
I can't hear you. Oh, sorry. I think like I don't know too much about the internals of the Russian economy or anything else. I mean, I'm usually a business economy kind of guy. Like, why do I know anything about natural gas? Because I trade natural gas. So like that's just the reason that I know anything about that in the first place. Like what I know about the internals of the Russian state is that there seems to be a lot of contention, but there also seems to be like no faction that can oppose Putin successfully because Putin's fucking evil and does evil shit like poison people and most likely, allegedly, a lot of voter fraud and shit. You know, he does it over here. I can't imagine he doesn't do it in his own country. I mean, that just makes sense to me. So like, I unfortunately don't see like him losing grip on power in his country. Like, I don't see any movement that can challenge Putin internally, and the Russian people are unfortunately, the main victims of him.
Okay, Elysium.
Oh, okay. I guess there's two kind of sides of this. So you're talking, as I say, I think we've definitely seen the as Captain was alluding to, the I don't know what word I want to use, oppression of different groups or opposition groups has been ramped up, and their kind of like restriction from the political sphere has been like quite undemocratic. but I feel like there's a lot of problems here too. I think the main problem for Putin is that he's really old. He's like nearing 70. And I think a lot of people are like weighing that calculus of how much longer Putin can have control. So if we look at the most recent election, like the difference between the polls and the voter turnout was like 20% or something ridiculous. Whereas if you look like most developed nations, the difference between their like latest polling and the elections is like nowhere more than 5%. So the amount of like effort and the amount politically to maintain control, and like the amount of effort put into police forces to stop protests and brutalize and push back against opposition is definitely increasing. So I think we are seeing those the chance of opposition to Putin growing yearly. So internally, I feel like there's a lot of problems there. Like the idea that Putin's ironclad is fading. I think it's more of people circling to see what's happening next to Russia than Putin having control is like where a lot of the stuff is at right now. But like the other main point that I wanted to get to is I think we're going back to like culturally. I think Russia has like lost a lot. Even not even during the USSR. I think everyone would still acknowledge Russia as like a cultural powerhouse. It has a long Russian heritage of being philosophically and culturally interesting, diverse, relevant artistically, and there's like a huge drop off of that. Like Russia doesn't seem to be very involved in pushing forward culture and philosophy anymore, and I feel like this kind of wraps up in like the identity crisis that Russia has, the post-Soviet Union. And that's going to like interact with a lot of any of the internal stuff going on in Russia.
Okay, let's go to Dan.
Yeah, I agree with Elysium that it would eventually be a matter of time when if Putin's ever going to retire or die in office. He's definitely getting pretty old, and it's getting to a point where probably even with age, that whole tired mind of like the mastermind, that anime super villain that Captain A. Jones brought forth will probably weigh into like an old person who is out of touch with their position, and like into all of that, like, and sadly, as the case being, I do, even if there was a effort to like of a growing sentiment, I don't see that happening within this decade or so. At least maybe with the 2030s, maybe. At least after maybe when Putin's gone, there might be some effort of change put forth. But at the moment, I don't think anything will be much done other than staying with the steadfast diplomacy and other efforts to stifle their interests to expand their borders or gain more power through trade and whatnot. That's my position.
Okay, let's go to our superpower anime villain, name Menon.
I would my understanding of Russia's contemporary internal politics is greatly influenced by Adam Curtis, and he in his documentary Hypernormalization, there's a really good quote he has that I'm gonna just read. In contemporary Russia, unlike the old USSR or present-day North Korea, the stage is constantly changing. The country is a dictatorship in the morning, a democracy at lunch, an oligarchy by supper time, while backstage, oil companies are expropriated, journalists killed, billions siphoned away. Surkov, one of Putin's main advisors, is at the center of the show, sponsoring nationalist skinheads one moment, backing human rights groups the next. It's a strategy of power based on keeping any opposition there may be constantly confused, a ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it's indefinable. I find this particularly interesting, especially, it's old, that's from 2011. If you look at what the opposition is nowadays, many people think of Navalny. So from what I've seen that Navalny's movements have been recently working on, or his supporters. So you've got Navalny, an unapologetic ultra-nationalist fighting against Putin, who himself platforms hyper-nationalist ideologies. By one of their main strategies, from what I've seen recently, has been to try to support pragmatic voting in local elections. They don't believe they can beat Putin in any sort of national election, but to gain some ground, try to swing things in local elections. So they've been campaigning for whichever party is most likely to win in any election whatsoever. So more often than not, they're actually campaigning for the Communist Party, which I find very, very interesting in the sweet irony of this whole weird ideological monster that is what's going on there. That being said, culturally it's a bit weird, because we are talking about a world that well, for us English-speaking people, is basically an English cultural hegemony. To just respond quickly to Elysium's point, if you look at Russia culturally, for example, the way their online culture happens, the internet, which is where a lot of culture happens nowadays, it's very similar to Chinese internet. It's its own world. If you don't speak Russia, if you don't go on Russian websites, you're not a part of it. Which also means it doesn't bleed through to our culture. There's not much of an exchange, but they definitely have their own thing going on there. Right, that was it.
Okay, let's go to Chow.
Yeah, Russia domestically and really just in generally, Russia as a whole, I would describe it as it's surviving, but it's not thriving necessarily. So we talked about its geopolitics before. Yeah, it's making movements, but like, is it really beneficial? There are pros and cons, of course. The same thing when it comes to its economy, of course, influenced by its geopolitics, its international relations, et cetera, when it comes to trade. Its GDP is not looking good. Its economy is certainly not as diversified as one would like it to be. And I guess when it comes to, say, like maybe public opinion, I'm not sure if that really much matters, because with how Russia is determining its leadership, at least like with Vladimir Putin, it seems to be rigged. Multiple sources have said so, and not really going to be seeing maybe like a turnaround when it comes to Russia anytime soon. Though the idea of Vladimir Putin dying because of old age, I think, may represent an opportunity. Not from like, not saying that some outside force is going to be like, oh, they're going to be like mastermindingly trying to take advantage of this. It may just like be an opportunity for Russia as a whole to move in a different direction. That may be difficult though, because Russia and Putin, of course, has his oligarchs. They want to concentrate their economic power as well as their political power to suit their own needs. I think that's the current state of Russia.
Okay. Yeah, what I found like really interesting is that Chow, you brought up like this point earlier, like you called like Ukraine borderland, but if you translate Ukraine in Russian, it literally means borderland. So there you go.
I said buffer state.
Oh, buffer state, but it translates to borderland, and
is borderland and buffer state the same thing?
Borderland for in Ukraine confirmed.
Okay. But basically, if you look at Russia itself, like I don't know what's going to happen with Russia, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like this is like totally speculation, I understand, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have like a second time that they fall out, like with the states, because their whole structure, their whole federation, is so extremely like not working with like the different levels of integrations you have, and you have like things they call republics within the Russian Federation. Then you have the oblast, and you have like the autonomous oblast, and then you have like a meme oblast where what's called the Jewish oblast, where 1% of the population is Jewish. So that's pretty weird. So I don't know, like where do you see like Russia going after Putin? Like
flip a coin at this
Yeah.
point, positive or negative, and those are the two sides.
Yeah, I don't know if
no predictions.
Yeah,
So-
if I had to make a prediction to speculate, it would be that some
Oh
other
no,
strong
you
man.
can't do that.
I know. God damn it! It's I would have to say that probably another strong man. I have no idea who that would be, but I would assume maybe one of these energy barons would take over.
Wouldn't those oligarchs like more interested in not keeping the country together, because that would basically mean that they could like maybe get like certain parts of Russia under their control?
No, because okay, when it comes to like the oligarchs, what they're really interested is extracting resources, and it becomes really difficult to extract resources if there's going to be instability, if there's not going to be like consolidation and things like that. So and like I guess like it is a possibility that one of these barons could become like the next state leader, but I really doubt it because at least like in my mind, they would be more interested in getting the economics of like or like focusing on their own economic gain rather than playing the game of politics. Of course, they're going to do stuff to influence the game of politics to their favor, but not necessarily be the kingpin.
Yeah, so basically, like Putin like handed out these companies and stuff like that. If you have like a successor of Putin, like obviously he can say like, well, I can just take back your company, but
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
They can
to
make their
handle-
own oligarchs. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what happened when Putin came into power. Is that there were the
Mhm.
oligarchs before, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm taking away your land, your value, and all this stuff," and he redistributed it to people who was more supportive of him. So then, like, this actually comes from the book of Machiavelli, The Prince. This is a very Machiavellian tactic. You get rid of all the leaders before that were against you, and then you satisfy the people who actually do support you and things like that, with a fire lit under their asses, of course. So, like, I guess considering how Russia is today, its political sphere, that after Putin, it is one possibility is that we will get a new set of oligarchs and with the new leader potentially. I don't think the old oligarchs would like that. They
Yeah,
would
that-
either try to
yeah.
prevent it or they would flee. They would go elsewhere. So, like, I think like maybe one place they could go to is Ukraine. Ukraine also has its own oligarchs that are in support of Russia, and that's how that's how Putin a lot of the times is influencing Ukraine is through money. So these top people, these hounds.
Yeah, so yeah, I would be like honestly like I would be kind of like imagine every time you get a new leader and you have to put like new oligarchs into place. That must be like kind of frustrating for oligarchs in the first place. Like they don't like that. So is this like a sustainable like model to do this? Like
Absolutely not. I
yeah.
mean, like as a whole, absolutely not. But it's not like these oligarchs they know what's going to happen, or
Mm.
they could at least predict with some certainty what is likely going to happen, and they're going to have countermeasures. It's not like they could leave, they could escape, of course. Just like how Putin right now, his reach is far with all these spies, these killings, these mysterious deaths of journalists and Russian nationalists that are against Putin outside of its borders, etc., etc. Of course, but like it's not like they're not getting anything out of it at the time because they are. They're incredibly rich, and they're using that wealth to amass more. They're living very nice lives. For them, in this moment, it's great. And then like for other people, not so much. But then I guess who cares about the other people in their position? At least that's maybe what they're thinking.
Mhm. So when we talk like the political people basically that are against like Putin and they die off like suddenly allegedly poisoned, right? So
Yeah,
basically what should we what should we do to protect those people, or shouldn't we protect those people? Is that like internal affairs, and basically if we have like a say in that, or if we going to interfere in that, we interfere in their local politics?
Well, I mean, they're his biggest like the opposition are pretty much like pseudo-fascist like kind of people, and probably the most recent one that's like claims that he's being tortured or whatnot and got extracted to Russia was pretty much doing like Nazi-ish talking points. So, and to me, like I don't really find him as like a worthy person to support, even though it's like my enemy is my friend kind of deal, or like how the U.S. supported like a bunch of fascist dictatorships in South America and Central America and whatnot. And I hate to go through stuff like that again for this country, to just keep doing that kind of like mindset of like we have to put these terrible people because the communists are, or but instead we're not dealing with communists, we're just dealing with strong men. And really with these pseudo fascist opposition who simply are kind of like, I mean they're still in their right to go and be open about their ideologies and being like, I think that this person is not great for this country because we have to have a national identity or whatnot. It's not worth it to me.
Name, you care to respond?
Yeah, I'm curious. You're talking about Navalny, right? And the people who support him.
Yeah, I think that recent guy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Navalny, as in like Navalny was the fascist.
Yeah, Navalny is I wouldn't go as far as calling him fascist, but he's an ultra-nationalist. Yeah, he's like advocated for like ethno-nationalism in Russia for a pretty long time. He hasn't been doing that in recent years, but he hasn't disavowed his previous opinions either. He's even defended them. It's just that he's reforged his identity as an opposition to Putin and kind of like pushed the ultra-nationalist stuff aside, but without really disavowing it. So I think it's completely fair to call him out on that. The Amnesty International, originally when he got in prison, they put him on their list of political prisoners. They removed him from that list because of his political opinions.
The fuck? That actually happened?
Horrible.
Yeah.
What? That's not consistent.
I thought Navalny was the good guy. What the fuck?
No,
I thought Navalny was like the one that we liked.
This is just my take, okay? Like, human rights is human rights.
By definition, he's still a political prisoner. Why the hell they do that?
Yeah, that's
even though I said I don't like, even though I said that I don't like the guy, and the guy said ethno-nationalist takes, it still means he's still an opposition leader to a political person and should be defined as a political prisoner or all of that. That's ridiculous.
I agree.
I mean, at least I'm pretty principled on this whole matter.
I agree with you guys. It's pretty ridiculous.
So it turns out Navalny, top 10 anime villains of all time. Secret anime villain. You thought he was the good guy the entire fucking time. He turns out he was the bad guy. Holy fuck. What a fucking
that was
plot
you,
twist.
Okay? You got betrayed.
What a fucking plot twist. I didn't see that shit coming from a mile away.
Alexei Navalny onto Captain Jones. I would say that's a solid
seriously,
5.
I had no idea. I thought he was
being brainwashed by the KGB Illuminati.
The CNN, I swear to fucking God. You know, I look up Navalny on CNN, they're like, oh, he's been oppressed in Russia. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's the good guy. Oh
he has been.
I mean, here's the thing is that he's still being oppressed, right? Like, there's still like a lot of, he's putting a lot of allegations that he's being forced to watch propaganda for many hours a day. He's in prison. He's unable to actually like be a political opposition to Putin because the guy is in prison, et cetera, et cetera. So it's violating democratic norms. It's violating human rights norms, right? Like, these are all things that we should be in support of, like, in a way, Navalny, like, not necessarily his political opinions, because those two are those two You could,
Yeah.
You could separate
right?
the two.
You
Yeah,
could,
I-
you could disagree with him, and then be like,
At
yeah,
least-
the dude has a life, right?
At least there has to be an opposition. Goddamn, I don't like. At least we all agree here that we're not going to go. At least me and the Americans on this panel is like, let's lock up like Kevin McCarthy and make him watch Kyle Kalinske videos. Or
I'm imagining him just having to
Kyle
watch
Kalinske.
Russia Today just endlessly. That is torture. That is torture.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
That's. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we're torture. Yeah, because you have a Star Wars background, and then in that site that you're showing, they killed a bunch of younglings. My God, Elysium, you support like killing children? Like
Sometimes.
To be fair, those children did look annoying as fuck.
Okay, I need Damon. I didn't think I would ever need to do this ever, but I fact checked you, and the statement from Amnesty. Okay, this doesn't necessarily prove you wrong, but this is their statement on the Navalny situation, prisoner, whatnot, political prisoner, is that they made a mistake in their initial determination. After some, I guess, like new information, they concluded that some of his actions reached the threshold of advocacy of hatred.
Yeah.
I guess like that would be his advocacy of I guess like maybe
In the past, yeah.
nationalism, things like that. Which like contradicts their definition of a POC. Not person of color.
Prisoner of conscience.
Yeah. Prisoner of conscience, yeah. So then like it's not as bad as they it was a technical contradiction, yeah.
Sure, yeah, and I said political prisoner when you're right. Like their term is actually prisoner of conscience. I paraphrased it wrongly. I'll concede that.
Yeah. So in the Netherlands, actually, if you are a political prisoner in the Netherlands, you have to watch Lib Praxis, pretty much. So that's how it works here. So. That's why the view guide is not that high because basically we don't have.
I mean, in Netherlands, you have the Hague, man.
Oh, you call those political prisoners in the
like the Hague? Yeah, you got like that guy,
war criminals and people who
you had
genocide. Yeah,
you had the guy in like from I think Yugoslavia in the 90s was like in the Hague for like years until he like died from like a heart attack. And that was in the Netherlands.
Like recently, they had like Mladic. They got that one general of Yugoslavia, but I think he already died or something because he was like super old and he grew like a beard.
Yeah,
and he was pretending to be like some hippie or something.
I see Jesus out of my backyard.
Yeah. So one other question when you talk about Russia is basically the cyber trolling and that kind of stuff. Do you guys think that is like a concern, like a reasonable concern for outside, or do you guys think that it's like a little bit blown up?
It's not blown up. It's a definitely concern. The trolling and political destabilization through use of propaganda efforts like what Russia did in 2016 during the election was very much as an effort of like, yeah, we have to take them very seriously and deal with these bots and supporting efforts of putting up candidates that obviously are not fit for office and then go around and support the other one to cause more like despoil with much of the political polarization that we have today. And I mean, they've done it, and as I mentioned, in Estonia, they did that too. I believe they probably did it in many other states in Europe too, along with that.
Mm-hmm. So, as a liberal AI, Elysium, what do you think about this?
I think there's a difference between the like internet trolling and the internet cyber hacking stuff. Trolling seems to be able to capitalize and exacerbate like political divides within countries, and it seems to be able to do that pretty well. Unfortunately, people don't seem to be very good at like parsing information, myself included. So even if it isn't anything overt, just being able to push messages of division within other countries, it still has a lot of negative effects and can like exacerbate and elongate political divides for sure. So that's like still a concern in and of itself. But then like the cybersecurity threats of the back and forth between Russia and America and I say China, but we don't care about that right now. The cybersecurity is like has potential to completely be devastating to countries, more so than a lot of other conflicts, because you don't have to even like be there. You can, there's like not secure ways to defend against it too. So like, I don't know. When we get into security in like the information sphere, I don't think anyone's come up with like a very good way to handle it, but it definitely is a huge problem that has to be taken seriously.
How would you go about it then?
Well, we pull Senpai Chow, and the best way for the trolling part is to have a more educated populace. So, like, not in the sense of like school.
Yeah,
I thought
baby.
I thought Chow was going to do the trolling for us, counter trolling.
You want like
Didn't even
information
say it.
education. Yeah, so like telling I mean, people have like done demonstrations of like going through good sources. I think I actually did this in school during one of our English classes when we learned about like sourcing stuff, just like good information analysis and sourcing, finding reliable news, finding diverse news inflows and stuff, and just like getting a general. I guess like the best thing is just have like a general connotation for the world, and so when something is outlandish, it should like throw some red flags before you just believe it, and like inspire some further investigation.
Chow, what do you think about like the cybersecurity and the trolling?
Okay, agree with Lysium. They ought to be separate, cybersecurity and the trolling, because cybersecurity also falls under the guise of, like, say, targeting our infrastructure, closing down some like our dams or our water, or targeting our energy, things like that. Our electricity grids is something that is often brought up. But then the trolling, that has more so to do with social media and spreading misinformation, disinformation, influencing our elections, etc., etc. On the trolling part, this is what I have to say about it. On the trolling part, it is difficult to try to determine whether or not be influential, because I guess like one way to measure it is you could ask a sample of like how many of you were subjected to this information, and there'll be like a large percentage, but then that doesn't apply whether or not that influenced their decision. Yeah, like maybe they were able to parse it out and things like that. Or like another thing that we could look at data wise is what is the activity of these trolls. Like we know the accounts, we know their names, we know what they typically do, etc., etc. There's a lot of tweets, there's a lot of people liking the tweets, there's a lot of people retweeting, etc., etc. But then we found out that a lot of the times it wasn't real people engaging in that activity, it was other bots that were engaging in the activity of bots. And so it was like kind of compounding, and so then that number is kind of unreliable in a way. So I would say that the trolling part from Russia, I would say, has been pretty ineffective. Yes, one could argue that there's a non-zero influence, but then what is that influence? Well, I think that's the difficult part that we need to know before we actually can make a sound judgment.
So let's go to the troll of the group, Captain.
Yeah, so I've been trying to look up, and I just cannot seem to find a number. The cost of the pipeline hack that they recently did, the Colonial Pipeline that went offline for a few days, and I can't seem to find an actual economic cost of that, which is really upsetting me. But because I was going to try to make a point based off that. But it was a lot, I could say.
Yeah.
Speculatively, it was a lot of money. And although in looking this up, I'm also reading that the hackers may not have actually meant to like take the entire pipeline offline. Great job, hackers. So like that was, there's a lot of speculation here, basically.
Well, they were able to get money out of it, and I do know that it caused a lot of trouble on the eastern border of the United States.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Yeah, that's basically that's my understanding of it as well. And the DOJ even recovered that money from the hackers, apparently. So,
nice.
like, what the fuck? I know, crazy. But so this is clearly my point was just basically going to be this is clearly a clear.
Yo, I'm from the East Coast, Aquaman.
We need Harrison Ford in Air Force One to go over there and talk with them. Okay. Because clearly that's the only person who. But yeah, seriously, this is a clear and present danger. I mean, this is just the latest example.
Do we know that they were Russian, or like did they have connections with the Russian government, or were they like?
I'm sorry, I couldn't mute on time.
Like an independent group that was getting support from the government, but like not necessarily well connected. Like it was just like, we give you funds.
So
you get to do you.
So I'm just looking at an article right now from the AP. I'll post it in the general. The hackers are Russian speakers from DarkSide, one of the dozens of ransomware gangs that specialize in double extortion, which the criminals steal an organization's data before encrypting it. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't seem... I don't think there's any official connection to the Russian government.
Yeah, so that's that's also like another difficult part, which...
No.
In a way, what? Yes, of course. In Putin's Putin's advantage, Putin's advantage, he's able to say that like, oh, these aren't affiliated with us. Like even if they are, right? Like even if
so you can say they're not affiliated, but there's like a pretty widespread precedent as far as I'm aware that like a country is responsible for the activity of like the when it comes to cybersecurity, the activity of the groups within them.
Yeah, but that's not evidence.
So my point is,
possible deniability only gets you so far when you're
you don't have to say that. You don't have to say that the Kremlin ordered this hack or anything. You just have to say that the Kremlin failed in their duty to prevent such a thing from happening. If you're wanting to hold Russia accountable.
No. To be fair, the people are clearly saying that the groups of hackers are being trained and financed by the government.
Yeah, but that's like
no
a
one's
whole
saying is that they failed to stop them. It's that they're actually being ordered by the Russian government.
But that's not even like necessary. Like if you wanted to have repercussions on Russia for such a hack, you don't even have to go that far.
No, you can't do that. Like I guess you kind of can if you consider it like terrorism.
Sanctions wise, yeah, absolutely.
Sure, yeah. There's precedent in that because of terrorism, where like a group of people from a country do something really bad to another country. So you, like you say, you do sanctions, etc. It's just like we're in this sort of a gray area here, where if you have a bunch of criminals that are saying like blackmailing a pipeline company for money using cyber warfare, they're not like if they let's say the plausible deniability is actually true, they actually are just criminals, they have no ties to the Russian government, you can't hold a government responsible for criminals. There's criminals in every country. Ethically, that doesn't really like stand on solid ground, in my opinion.
Interpol incoming.
Ethically is a whole different conversation, but okay.
Sure. All right. You know what also like really sucks is that we could talk about Russia when it comes to this subject like a lot, but then I just can't help but think that what the United States is doing in response is the dumbest thing. Like Congress has, or at least like the Democrats, when this was happening, multiple times has offered bills of funding to building cybersecurity, to having a more robust defense against these attacks and things like that. And then Republicans just, they don't let it pass. What the fuck?
Well, in regards to Colonial Pipeline, didn't I think it was the FBI released that they like actively targeted the computers that had perpetrated the attack and like took out that server and stuff? Like, there's definitely responses you can do.
No, okay, no. That's not the point. The point is that like there are responses, okay, but guess who's blocking them? Fucking Republicans.
Hey, if you're telling me the Republicans are blocking it, I could agree with that because fuck the Republicans. Am I right or am I right, boys?
Oh my god. It's just like I was just thinking. It's just like they talk about election fraud and the integrity of our democracy and blah 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 blah. And then here comes a bill, multiple bills that increases funding when it comes to election security, when it comes to like outside interference. They're like, nope, not an issue, no vote.
Well, because it's being
Because
politicized,
it's to their
right?
benefit.
Yeah, like it's been politicized in the U.S. If you believe in Russian intervention, you're a Democrat. If you deny it, you're a Republican. There's no like rational approach to cyber warfare. It's just political. And then there's the moment where Trump was talking about cyber, and I guess that's when the Republican Party was like pro cyber, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, and then so on is like, yeah, Russia's been doing some shit, and I guess like in a way it does compound with each other. But there's like the United States response is just so fucked up.
Now, to be fair, because earlier we were talking about NATO and stuff, in response to the Estonian cyber attacks, there was the creation of the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence in Estonia, which is a really memey name. But
yeah,
it is. I know it's kind of interesting for me to see because the Estonian attacks were like some of the lowest. It's basically the lowest tech attack you can make. It was just a DDoS attack, and it was over some like stupid, some like symbolic thing of moving a statue around and war memorials. Like it wasn't an actual. It was in some sort of like symbolic ideological disagreement, not really a geopolitical one. But hey, the NATO has like a cyber warfare facility in Estonia as a consequence of that. So like as whatever's happening in the U.S. Congress in regards to funding a proper cyber warfare front, NATO is doing stuff for that.
I think one of the big problems with cyber warfare though is like Western countries have a lot more to lose than like Russia does.
It's not a Western or Russian country thing. It's that in cyber warfare you have in any kind of information security issue, you have the problem that the attacker always has the advantage. The attacker only has to break the defenses once in one place, and they accomplish their mission. To successfully defend, you have to defend for all eternity against all possible attacks, which is just like it's impossible. You can't.
For their defense, you have to find a needle in the haystack. Whereas the offense, well, they are the needle. They can put themselves anywhere they want.
And I know we have examples of the U.S. I think the greatest example is Stuxnet. When the U.S. and the NSA, I think it was the NSA or the CIA, I don't remember which one of the agencies, partnered with Mossad to create the most advanced computer virus ever in existence to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. So we have an example of the West doing really advanced cyber warfare, and once again, you're the attacker. All you have to do is find the right vector and fuck shit up. It's a one-sided type of fight from that perspective.
Yeah. So what's really interesting with cyber warfare is that before warfare was like so conventional, some would describe it, arms, nuclear, tanks, air force, things like that. And it seems like nowadays we're like it's changing to the point where what causes the most damage is not nuclear anymore. It's completely shutting down another country at like okay, this is kind of hyperbolized, at a click of a button.
Yeah, I wonder, like, are there rules around like cyber warfare, like international rules?
Yes.
Also, thank you for the follow then. So, what are those? Like, those specific rules, are they being followed, or is everybody just memeing the shit out of those rules?
I think it's like a do as I say, not as I do type of deal. You know what I mean?
I agree with Jones on that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
that's typically how most international customary law, just hard law, goes. Is that you have certain behaviors that are good, and that we're just like, we don't want to live in a world in which we're always at each other's necks, and that way we're able to thrive. We're able to allocate our resources differently, or we're able to have like more of a focus on, say, development instead of security, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, like there are detractors, and I guess like in a way it's maybe a bit slight. I would say that most countries and like most people aren't engaging in cyber warfare to the point where it's like causing World War III or like a new Cold War, things like that. But like there are certain opportunities and certain methods that can be used at times in which like it's to the advantage of one country that would like skirt away from these rules, right?
So yeah, one thing I wanted to say was like cyber like the targeted hacking of installations, groups, whatever it is. I have to type this. No call. I have a thing right now. Caller. Okay. Sorry. Can't take your call right now. But this is like a super important aspect of, it's a modern defense and attack in terms of like our like military or response assets. But I was thinking, how targeted is it actually? Because in terms of Stuxnet, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't looked this up, and I'm going based purely on memory, which I don't know if you've seen me, but I smoke a lot of weed, so we're gonna work with this, okay? But like, I'm pretty sure Stuxnet is that virus is still out there, and it's still responsible for like fucking up computers in the wild, not associated with the Iranian hack. But maybe I'm wrong. But and it's not Stuxnet; it's something else. I might be thinking of. But I'm almost positive there's a virus out there that was created for the intention of taking out somebody else, cause damage to another country, and instead it's kind of gotten out there into the wild and still infecting old computers. I can't remember what it is called though.
It probably is Stuxnet.
Do you think it's called Skynet?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, good one.
I wish it was real.
No,
what?
I don't.
No, God, that's
terrible reality. Holy shit!
I mean, I don't know, but like maybe like we could just be like, hey, if you can like make me a cyborg, I'll happily join your robot.
You want to lick my hair?
I mean, I definitely say that to the robots to fucking save my own life. That's for sure. I'd be like, yo,
for sure.
I am down for robot rule. Okay, let me just tell you, I like robots. I think robots should be treated a lot better, frankly. Okay?
I think you guys are poor Americans. Liberty or death? Don't you know anything?
I didn't know that I invited like a couple of transhumanists on this panel. Yeah,
I'm just saying I'm a pragmatist. Okay, I'm just trying to save my own life ultimately. Like, if fucking Terminators are out there, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm in San Francisco. Nobody got guns around here.
The name has two words. Okay, there's liberal and pragmatic. Okay, or praxis. Okay, you only fulfilled one half when it came to Captain Jones. What the fuck, Chinchilla? Okay, when I ask for yes, I don't mean getting just some guy on the sidelines of Prime Kai's, okay?
The sidelines. Oh my god,
Damn.
shots fired. Shots fired.
It's me. It's me.
Fuck.
Oh my god. I mean, would you I would assume that would you if you're like given like some robots pointing a gun at you.
Oh my god, this is actually turning into a prime battle. Chinchilla, please, reel it back.
Wait, hold on.
I'm getting PTSD.
So if you're saying that Skynet takes over, right? Are we also saying that Terminator 2 and like the melting metal through the bars? Like I'm just saying that was pretty fucking dope.
Listen, I know that you guys want to have a robot deck, but let's get back on topic. So
all right, fine.
So basically,
Undrums are nothing.
So yeah, we derailed like pretty hard, but we were talking about the hacking and like what should be like our like from the West, like basically be our strategy, like because of the fact that it sounds kind of hard to prevent these kind of hacks. At least like you can definitely have like better security, but it sounds like this is going to be more of an issue in the future. So how are we going to deal with those those kind of targeted hacks.
Well,
Name was holding his hand up, so Name.
Yeah, sorry. I also wanted to take. I didn't get to make my statement on the cyber warfare thing, so I'm going to steal the first word here. Look, I think honestly, I don't know. I don't know about education solving the problem of troll farms. The thing that happened with troll farms is they didn't need to be effective. They didn't need to actually convince that many people. What they did was they ruined discourse between people. Now, if you give an opinion to if you're posting an opinion online and like half the people who disagree with you are going to be like, oh, you're some kind of bot, you're some kind of troll. They're going to start looking through your account. It creates really, really shitty discourse, at least online. Admittedly, that's maybe not as important as we make it out to be.
Hard disagree. Oh my god, because what's most common on Twitter, at least for me, is people calling other people CIA plants or CIA bots, okay?
Well, that's on the same level. Like it's this
yeah, but it's not Russia.
So New World Order first, and now he's talking about CIA bots. Okay. How can we be sure that this Elysium guy isn't one of these bots?
We all know he is.
Think about it.
Let's go back to Name.
My God, I swear you might be an actual AI troll, Elysium. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Let's go back to Name.
Yeah, I just want to in my opinion, that plays into it. It's just that on the one hand, you have people accusing people of being like Russian trolls. On the other hand, you're a CIA plant. It's now that it's been introduced into the discourse that you can accuse each other of not even being an actual person. It's there to stay. It's ruined that fucking side of discussing politics. At least like on Twitter and forums, Reddit, whatever. I don't know how much education can resolve that. Now that like the cat's out of the bag, all media sources, you can be educated, you can be doing your due diligence, but like you gotta like what are you doing? You're looking at every single article. Like where was it sourced? Was it sourced from Russia Today? Was it sourced from AP, etc., etc.? We should be doing that, but I mean, most people don't do that.
Elysium, how do you feel now, huh?
I don't know if I really follow.
Education is too slow. It's not good enough. The problem's already here. It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, how's it feel?
Yeah, how's that feel? Anyways, concerning actual cyber warfare, I think we're taking steps there, but like Western countries seem to be quite a bit behind and playing catch up to China and Russia, and even maybe like North Korea, who saw the opportunity to exert military power over the internet years before many of our agencies really saw it as a new front, basically. And Stuxnet is a great example of us doing that. And so it's not like the US hasn't been doing things on that front, but I think with stuff like troll farms and more low tech but high impact attacks, we're seeing people realize the potential, how much easier it is to do damage, how you don't really need anything sophisticated to do damage. You can any damage you do is worth it. It's very low cost, and the return on investment will be high, whatever you invested into it. So I think we need to bring in some Zoomers and Zoomer hackers into the fucking agencies and have them get some brains into that shit. Invest into it. We're never going to win a defensive battle, and you need to know what you're attacking if you're attacking something. So we'll always be at a disadvantage on that front. But I don't see any other choice than to develop our cyber warfare capabilities.
Eamon, I think you're forgetting all the billions of dollars that we've put into the NSA, right?
Sure, but that's like surveillance.
Okay. No. But here's the thing: is that I'm no expert on it. I don't think anybody here is an expert on this, but we can reasonably say that they're in the same field, right? the surveillance part, and then like the code, the technology, the AI, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's
So that
it's
Yeah,
difficult to be able to
it's
really
information
explain.
technology. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So then, to me, it just seems like the United States, because of the war on terror, tangent, right? But let's not get into that. Because of the war on terror, that we put a lot of our resources into like, in a way, like the internet resources, or like building that infrastructure to surveil our own people, instead of like protecting from domestic attack or international attacks, because like fear of terrorism from within, right? It was like it seems to be that's a waste.
Oh, I
Well,
completely
I'd like
agree
to
with that. I think-
counter. Yeah, a big part of the Snowden leaks was that the NSA was actually spying on
Oh my God, you just
government
raged.
officials, like all across the world, and notably many allies of the U.S.
Like honestly, like if it's too expensive to make, man, and why don't we outsource the hacking to like a country that already is expertise, like Russia, let's say? No, just kidding.
Division of labor.
Wait, can I jump in? Real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Naaman, I feel like I disagree on both of these points.
Mhm.
The idea of like Russian bot accusations or CIA plant like is a fundamental change to like discourse. I really just don't. Like where do you see this being substantially different from something before it? Like there's any political conversation has always been plagued with decrying the other side as being some extremist or made up fictional thing. Like right. Like,
Yeah, but an extremist is still like you're still talking to a human being.
is that really substantially different?
No.
Like propaganda's been a thing in
Yeah, of
every
course.
accusation, right?
Yeah.
There's
the
been,
same
like,
fundamental
this growing
claim,
level
right?
of dehumanization, even to real people. Like, yes, maybe we add in one more rhetorical tool to calling somebody just like a bot, as like put that under dehumanization, right? But then people have been doing this really since like it's been growing since the 2000s, which was like was back then, like was maybe cyber warfare was a thing back then as well, but like not to the same degree as it is right now. Yeah, when it comes to like say 2016, 18, the 2020 election. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then when it comes to like this idea of like negative polarization, like negative partisanship, the divided country, people going at each other's necks because of politics, and Republicans and Democrats not being friends. Uh, I would say like the biggest contributor to that problem has been mass media. Okay, say like Rush Limbaugh, Fox News, talk radio, and then like and then you have all these other conglomerates that are from the left as well, who are like really partisan. Kyle Kalinske was already mentioned here. Fucking dipshit. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, lately, sure.
What point are you trying to make, Chai? I guess I don't follow at all.
The point is that like Naaman is bringing up like an issue of like I guess growing partisanship, right? People not discourse being polluted. But then when I think of discourse being polluted, or like when I know that the main contributors to that isn't the Russian bots.
I feel like I agree with you in the sense that I just see like you talked about mass media. I see social media as perpetuating those issues you described in mass media, and then adding like troll farms on top of that, only further hurting discourse in that direction. But I guess until. I guess with the partisan mass media, you have like actual decisions on what kind of ideology and news you want to report and how you want to report it. But with social media, what we noticed is that it was just algorithms, right? You just have algorithms creating echo chambers all across the internet, and then with troll farms, you once again have an actual actor, someone stepping in to influence people explicitly, not just people self-influencing with.
what is this like substantially different from? Like any sort of political discourse
it's
from
not
all time is
substantially
gonna...
different, and I agree with you guys, like disagreeing with me on that. It's not substantially different. It's just more of that. It's further further in that direction, I guess, is where I would like to remand my position.
The trolling became a lot easier, right? That's basically what you're saying. The trolling became easier. Yeah, I would agree. And like yeah, of course, like what Senpai Chao said is like 100% true. I think like what you're saying is also a true name, so so I don't necessarily think we actually disagree on this. So one thing that I which before you brought this up, right, I was asking the question of like what we should do when it comes to cybersecurity from like a national perspective or from the West perspective. Like, are we going to deploy the same tricks as like Russia or maybe China does, or should be our strategy?
I think probably at best we have to start doing the same stuff as what China and Russia is doing, because practically it's being like on the defensive here and obviously saying that, oh, it's not technically war. Like they're already dealing with economic warfare in certain ways through other methods, through trade, political like differences from diplomacy. So therefore, I think there's still game then to start doing measures that they have done to us we could do to Russia and China.
Hard disagree.
What does that mean?
Like we could just like, I don't know, mess up troll farms and do stuff to like propaganda, break through their giant wall, like firewall, and
I think that.
No, but when you say we should do the same thing, that means we're setting up our own troll farms. That means we're setting up our own propaganda machines. That means we're attacking their infrastructure as well. Okay, so then like, do you mean that like we should be like attacking the source of who's attacking us, or like committing to the same actions that they do?
Committing to the same actions as they do.
Okay, I definitely disagree with that, though.
Hard disagree.
I think America already kind of does do this, but I don't. That's like not would be how I would respond to it.
I would see.
I'm speaking as a layman here. I am not so familiar with
any layman could realize that committing to the same actions that they do, one, on a moral level, doesn't make us right, because two wrongs don't make it right. But okay, maybe we don't want to be in that area. Okay, then what about like on a practical level? Yeah, in a way, like fight or flight, we wanna punch back. That's our initial instinct in anything that, like, when we feel wronged, right? But then does that necessarily lead to the best kind of outcome? No, I don't think so, because I think what is going to cause is escalation. I think they're going to ramp up what they're doing. We're not like, our desire, the best outcome is to make sure that this doesn't happen at all. And so then for us to want to like escalate and like do the same things that they're doing, and like that's just going to like turn into some vicious cycle of more cyber warfare over and over again. I'm not into that. I don't think anybody's into that.
I think
I'm willing to rethink on what I said. Okay.
Yeah,
I could see it happening in a sort of mutually assured destruction way, where if we had like really advanced cyber warfare capabilities, Russia has them too. If Russia fucks up our like pipelines or infrastructure or industries, we can fuck up theirs, and then it's kind of like, okay, we're only going to act with 100% plausible deniability, or we're not going to act at all. Then I could see that being like a proactive defense type situation where you're not actually gonna attack, but you're building up a threat. Would that seem reasonable to you, Chao?
So long as the concept is backed by treaties, yes. Okay, because that's kind of what happened with mutually assured destruction with nuclear weapons. Is that like you kind of had like these these two groups of people saying, no, it's just mutually assured destruction, or it's just these treaties. It has to be both. There has to be both. So I would only agree to that if there was that. But what makes it a bit,
I feel like
more different? What makes it a bit more different is that when it comes to like nuclear arms, you have to have a facility. You have to enrich uranium. You have to have these kind of like hard technologies that are obvious to detect, right? We're able to monitor countries as to whether or not they're enriching uranium to a certain point. When it comes to the ability to like conduct cyber warfare, it's the threshold is a lot lower. And so then like treating it the same way as mutually assured destruction is I thinking about it that way, I don't think we will achieve the same kind of outcome.
Oh man, I don't understand this conversation. The current situation is mutually assured destruction. Like the current backdrop of cyber security is that like both sides is able to completely destroy the infrastructure of the other if escalation happens. And like so I don't know, like talking about are we going to go to mutually assured destruction feels really weird when that's like the current setup. And like if anything, the push is to build more ways of saying if cyber attacks are emanating from your country, you're going to be held economically responsible for them as a deterrent, so that countries like the only solution that I've seen that seems reasonable is to incentivize countries to deal with the cybersecurity threats within their own borders.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that the United States, and I'm not memeing. This is going to sound like a meme. I'm going to back it up first, though, really quick. I think that the only thing that I can remember that Trump did good is that he made a Space Force. I'm not memeing. Space Force was a good thing, but the space is the next frontier. We need a military for it. But similarly, I think cyber warfare is something that we need to specialize in as well. I'm not sure if the NSA is already and the CIA is already doing that, and so it's just better under them. But like, I wouldn't be opposed to if it's something that would make things more efficient or whatever, make things better for this. I wouldn't be opposed to like a cyber warfare arm of the military, going out there recruiting, getting nerds. You know what I mean? So in terms of like a actual response that the United States could do, I think I would love to see that.
I'm pretty confident that's already happening. Maybe not like an official branch, because in a way, I guess a lot of people would argue in the same way as the Space Force is that it's a bit redundant. But I get what you mean. I agree.
Yeah, and like so, like the NSA is supposed to be only doing things nationally, and the CIA is supposed to only be doing things internationally. And so I wonder if like that makes things less efficient in terms of our response.
Well, we have the Department of Homeland Security. I'm pretty sure both of them are under the Department of Homeland Security.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
The
like,
NHS or
branch.
The NSA and the CIA are under the DHS.
It's technically another branch of government, so
yeah, that's what I kind of thought. This is just like this a nitpicky technicality, but it just seems like there might be room to improve our cyber warfare capabilities, and like I think that it's a thing that we expect countries to already have, and so like I don't see why we wouldn't make it like an explicit thing. But again, like I don't know. I don't know if that would actually help. Like maybe the CIA and the NSA are just like partnered together like this, and they already have something going on. I'm not.
I mean, like what it could do is it could boost public confidence in like our own ability to be like, hey, we have this thing going on, and we're like funding our ability to protect our own cybersecurity. And then another thing that it could do is send signals to our adversaries, being like, "Yo, this is something that is like real, apparent, and like open. Fuck with us at your own risk."
Okay, so yeah, we pretty much covered a lot of this stuff. In general, before we wrap it up, maybe we can do one more topic. Basically, I think like Elysium has some stuff that he wanted to bring up as well, I think, because he had like a notepad and
do you
stuff
mean
like
it as in the AI?
I'm not an AI. Only one more topic. Fuck. So many. Okay, if we only have one more, I think what's most interesting is I think like geopolitically something that Russia is currently struggling with is a lot of its spheres of influence under USSR, and then like that it maintained in the Russian Federation are like slipping away. And I don't really know how it's going to deal with this situation. So like if we look at like current events with the United States pulling out of Afghanistan, no one's talking about Russian influence increasing there. Everyone's talking about Chinese influence increasing there. Cuba has moved kind of away from Russia as its dependency and is hopefully can become more integrated with the United States economy. I think that was something that was really interesting was the oh fuck, I don't know how to say this. Azerbaijan, you guys know what I'm talking about, Armenia war.
That's correct.
When that war started up again, Turkey was way more willing to jump in than Russia and push that influence, and Azerbaijan has definitely moved closer to Turkey as an ally than it has to Russia. And so like all these areas around the world where Russia was pretty dominant feels like are like dropping off in general. How you guys, does that make sense as a thing?
Okay. You want to go first, Chow?
I can go first.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Like I can speak a lot about the Azerbaijan and Armenia conflict. That much of the issue has been very much, I think, terrible for the Armenians. They lost a lot of territory, at least some to even erode. There's still even some efforts of taking over some little places and even some highways with Armenia. I do think that the United States has. I don't think they really did much with the conflict, as other than say, please stop fighting. Fighting is bad, but in that place for sure now that Russia has not been taking that much a role there, and as much even including to like Syria and all that, and other people like Turkey has been trying to take up their muscle and play more diplomatic game and support game these days.
Okay, Chow.
Yeah, so Elysium, your description was pretty much like I agree with everything except for one. It's not even that you're incorrect, but more so that like I think it's a bit difficult to weigh in like the allyship of countries when obviously one is a lot more regional than the other. So then like this isn't to say that this isn't to say that you're wrong, but I think the way that like you're trying to weigh in a way like one country's allegiances to two countries in the same way when their relationship is fundamentally different because one is regional and the other is like a global power. You get what I'm saying? And so then like it's kind of unfair
not really,
to try
actually.
to compare the two.
Like in what context are you saying?
Okay.
I'm just not sure like what you're trying to relate it to.
Yeah. So like you said that that like there was one country, was it Azerbaijan, that I was like saying is moving away from Russia and like more so getting support
Closer to
from
Turkey, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then like you see how Turkey is more in the region and like and Russia is like pretty far away.
No. I mean, this is a former Soviet state. They're both in the region.
Thanks for the follow, Stoic VV.
Yeah, in a way, but then like
this is it's a former Soviet state. It was under Russia's sphere of influence. Like, it is a complete loss of sphere of influence. Absolutely.
Yeah, it has. But then, like, if I were Azerbaijan, and like, and like, when it comes to like me dealing with the war, or like thinking about the war, like, am I really going to be seeing Russia as more of a resource, or Turkey, who like also deals with well similar issues, and like they have that historical tie to the previous conflict, right?
Elysium?
So then, like,
I mean, as it
obviously,
played
like,
out, you
I mean,
saw
like,
Turkey as a
it
great one
just
because
seems
Russia wasn't willing
obvious.
to be military involved, and
It
Turkey
just
was
seems
willing to be militarily involved. I don't understand the question. There wasn't
Yeah,
a
but then, like,
proximity. Russia's military is like one of the last things that like gives it global status.
yeah, but then when it comes to that specific issue, there's a lot more weight or like a lot more importance to Turkey than Russia.
No,
Obviously.
there's not. Russia has patrols these areas. Russia's involved in Syria too. Like this is where Russia wants to have its influence. The expectation.
What does Russia
was-
have to gain from that area?
Oil.
I know it has something to gain from Syria. Oil. Russia already has
Oil?
oil.
And regaining its land as the USSR.
See, that's the thing. Regaining its land to the USSR. I'm not so confident that's what it wants now.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Chow. There is an interest, but it's oil.
I agree.
It's-
I think that's not their interest that much anymore.
Okay,
I don't think.
sure. You have to be a direct integration, but you still maintain your sphere of influence as the USSR, even though
I
I
mean,
would contest
okay,
that they do
so
want to
I think
integrate
it's
them.
like really important for Russia to gain allies. I think that's really important. I think that's important
And it's
for every
losing. That's
single
exactly that's the
country.
whole point of this thing. They're losing their spheres of influence. They're losing their allies.
No, okay. There's a difference between allies and spheres of influence.
God,
And
I'm gonna have to dip out soon. I'm
allies. In
feeling
fact,
the
it has
fever and
like
shit.
it has a growing partnership with China, and that like
No. Well,
Just-
okay. So the problem.
okay. So like you know how there's a difference between allies and spheres of influence.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, let's
that's it. That's the point.
let's go to name. Name wanted to respond.
Oh, I responded to what I wanted to respond.
You agreed with me, all right?
He just doesn't think that the USSR or that Russia wants to regain the USSR borders, which I
Yeah,
think.
so-
Okay, do we have
Yeah,
evidence
I
for it?
I don't
Why-
think that like Russia wants to go back to the exact borders of
Plus-
the USSR, but I do think that they do want to target some of the places that used to be under the
Why are they pushing the
USSR.
Georgia border all the time? Why to go to war
Yeah,
with Georgia?
or Crimea. Yeah, why do they want to have a foothold in Syria and have an ally there or sphere of influence?
From Azerbaijan's in
Wait, what
point of
was
view,
Syria
though,
part of
they
the
were-
USSR or something?
No, it's not the
No,
Rona.
no,
they
okay.
would love
just
to
have
have
a really bad
but they would
cold.
love to have a sphere of influence there.
Why?
To
I know the
challenge
answer.
the United
This is a
States.
rhetorical question. Why?
That's
So,
their Mediterranean port that
challenge
isn't
the
affected by
United
Greece and Turkey.
Awesome. It's the Mediterranean port. They want that. They want
Well,
that city. What
that
is it
was
called? It starts with
Crimea.
E.
Yeah, this sucks, Nit.
No, the Crimea is the Black Sea.
Can you say it again?
The Mediterranean.
Uh huh.
They want a port
It
along the
cut out.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, technically,
so,
they have access to the Mediterranean via the Black Sea, via the port of Sevastopol that's in Crimea.
Well, technically they don't.
Okay,
have
but
that because
then
it
that
needs
kind
to
of
go
goes
to-
against the point. That kind of goes against the argument that Russia is like wanting to like regain its spheres of influence from its USSR days because
wait.
Syria was not a part of the USSR back
Yeah,
then.
that's
But
not
So,
part
but
of that
they want-
argument. That's not related.
So
I never said
yeah.
that was.
Maybe I misspoke a little too, but because you're right. But they definitely want to have a sphere of influence in that region to challenge the United States and other Western powers because that's what we're doing. Or well, we pulled out of Afghanistan, but like that's at least for a long time what we were working toward. So like it makes a lot of sense why they would want to
Is
be
it
in the
so
region
much
as
of a
well.
is it so much of a challenge to just like want to have a port there, to have a military presence, and to just be like, hey, we're here to like protect our own borders or to like conduct trade? Like, is that so much of a challenge? Like,
Well, I think the way they went around it was the problem.
it just seems like every single advance, okay. And this is not to say that like what Russia did to Crimea was bad, because I do disagree with that. But it just seems like everything else, like everything that like Russia wants, or like everything that what China wants, is a challenge to the United States.
You have a point there.
So yeah,
I'm not following this conversation at all anymore. I'm sorry.
I do think
It's okay.
I
Dan
do
can
think that
explain it to you.
it's more than yeah, but it's also a large part because the United States. So like that, why is Afghanistan such. Why is Afghanistan a country that's involved in so much war? Well, it's because it's politically strategic, and so the
No.
Russians and the United States have gone in separately, you know, into the country for arguably similar reasons.
No.
Reasons that
What?
rhyme.
I don't
at the
think
very
it's
least.
geo.
Yeah, it's not
It's
okay.
just region.
Afghanistan was
It's-
important because Russia tried to invade it for the whole like finishing the revolution shit, and then that was just a weakness that America wanted to exploit. And then if 9/11 were happened, we won't give a fuck about Afghanistan.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's necessarily true. I mean, we gave a fuck about the region before 9/11 happened. We had troops over there
Because of the
before
Cold War.
9/11 happened. Well, also because of Iraq, and their I mean, they invaded Kuwait, which is a huge ally of ours.
What does that have to do with
Wait.
Afghanistan?
Wait.
It's in
Who
the
invaded
region.
Kuwait?
It's literally
Who invaded
right
Kuwait?
there.
Who invaded Kuwait?
Iraq.
Okay, we're talking about USSR,
Yes.
right? Okay, so what
Yes.
does Iraq have to do with this?
Well, we're talking about the region. It's all in the region.
Okay, no,
Literally right there. I mean, are we looking at a map?
Okay.
I don't know
All
if
right,
we're looking at the same map.
All right,
Let's
Captain
jump back
Jones. Captain Jones,
to-
I'm going to help you. This is
All in the
your
Middle East.
argument. This is your argument. The reason why Afghanistan is important is because it was the target for the Soviet Union to establish its presence in the Middle East, and that's why
Yeah.
we got involved in it. But what Elysium is saying is that after the USSR fell and removed itself from Afghanistan, we pretty much didn't really give a fuck about Afghanistan. Of course, we gave a fuck about the Middle East, but like but that doesn't mean we gave a fuck about Afghanistan. The reason why we particularly point to the Middle East is it just so happens to have a lot of resources that we like, oil. And then like I don't know how like Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, what is the connection between that and Afghanistan besides they're in the same region?
Well, that's a large part of it. They all have the similar resources. They all have similar geopolitical advantages to wanting to have them under your sphere of influence. I mean, it's the reason that we defended
Afghanistan has
Kuwait.
none of
So why weren't we
The reason
involved?
that-
Okay,
It's
so
the
in
reason
what
that
way?
we
In
went
what
into
way were
Iraq.
we involved? In what way were we involved in Afghanistan post?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Post
Afghanistan
USSR
doesn't
fall.
have oil.
In a
I think
substantial
Scoopster
way.
has a decent point. I guess
Post
about trade routes and
USSR fall, I
pipelines,
mean,
but they
12
don't
years
really
later,
matter that much
went to
in a
war.
modern global route.
Because of
Pipelines do,
9/11,
the
nothing
pipelines
to do.
definitely do, but
Because the Taliban was
we
the
built
Taliban
the
was hiding
shores
behind
around
it. It had
that
nothing to
shit.
do with anything geopolitically about Afghanistan.
Okay, you
Got
can
it.
say that all you want, but to act like there's not a geopolitical interest in why we went to nation build there, come on, we literally just spent 20 years there.
Why?
Am I
What were
forgetting
we doing
something?
for 20 years? We were building
What
its
were we doing
military,
for
building
20
its government,
There you
trying to
go.
protect human
Why
rights.
were we doing
Those
that?
aren't that's not geopolitics.
Hold on,
That's not
no.
geopolitics, my dude.
Hold on.
Wait. We can make middle ground here. We can make if by
hold on.
geopolitics we mean that the war on
Hold on,
terror.
I can't
became,
get
like, a
yelled
bigger
over.
thing.
Come on.
Okay,
let me
let
talk.
Jones talk, and
Okay,
then Elysium
So-
can do some bridge building and nation building.
So it can't in one hand be that we went over there to take out Al Qaeda, but then in the other hand be that we went over there to nation build. Or it can be that maybe we went over there for dual purposes. We didn't just go over there to take out Al Qaeda. We also went over there because, hey, they got a lot of resources. We want to build economic partnerships with them. And we want to have bases in the region to directly be able to strike other countries in the region. I mean, why do we have our the fifth largest naval, or I'm sorry, the fifth fleet, not the largest. The fifth fleet is stationed in Qatar. So, like, why do we have
like,
so
that's
much
Afghanistan,
dedicated
that's another
resources
country!
to the region?
This is a very
It's literally right next to it, dude. Look on the
Oh
map.
my
the
God.
To say like these don't like to say like it's all
this is just
you're-
association.
What you're doing is trying to like say, oh, this isn't about Afghanistan specifically, so it has nothing to do with it. But it's like
It gives no credence to your argument. is
Okay,
what I'm
let's
saying.
go. Let's go to Elysium and then to name.
I feel like this is a really weird ahistorical approach to why, like, what happened in Afghanistan. I can understand if, like, by geopolitics, what we mean is, like, initially, we went into Afghanistan around Al Qaeda, and then the war on terror and the war in Iraq and the geopolitical relevance of the entire Middle East and American influence in the Middle East like escalated, and so then like our situation in Afghanistan increased, sure, but like none of this would have been pre-planned. The whole point of saying or comparing American geopolitics and USSR politics to Afghanistan doesn't make sense, because without 9/11, without Al Qaeda being there, Afghanistan would never have been geopolitically significant to American interests.
Let's go. Let's go
Not
to
convinced
name.
of that, but
let's go to name.
Okay. On the topic, I think the only I'm pretty sure there isn't really any special oil reserves in Afghanistan. I could be wrong on that.
Entirely different resources.
Yeah. There are really good resources there. But like none of them are accessible if you don't have a stable government that you can build infrastructure and trade routes with. Which I think the U.S. was hoping for that, and well, that was not accomplished. That being said, I'm really sorry. I'm really sick today, and I'm gonna have to dip out early. I'm feeling the fever and everything.
Maybe we're just gonna wrap it up, because now we're talking about Afghanistan, and I think we can do that every week.
We cannot talk about anything other than Afghanistan. No countries in the region matter. No speculation.
No. Okay, so I want to thank you, Captain A. Jones, and I want to thank you, Dan, the staff, for coming on and helping on. I appreciate that. So it was interesting. This was like definitely like a different than usual. That being said, like obviously like Elysium, Neymanen, and Senpai Chow, thanks again for coming on as well. So if you're watching and from anybody's streams that's currently streaming, all these people, including me, are streamers. So much appreciated if you would give them a follow if you are in their chat or whatsoever. That would be appreciated. That being said, next week we will take a week off for Lib Praxis, because I'm going on holiday. I'm going to Greece. I'm gonna inspect their navy capabilities over there, and the week after that, we might do something with Gambit, but I'm not quite sure what your guys like from the panel, the regular panel, opinion is about that. So, or do you guys rather want to pick a topic between our
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking
regulars, all right.
I'm talking to the regulars. I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to be a regular, just talk to Chinchilla.
Yeah, that's how I do. So, but Chow, what did you wanted to say? You wanted to say something?
I'm pretty sure Neyman was pretty interested in the topic. I was the one that suggested the topic, so it would be pretty bad for me to be like, no, I don't want to talk about the topic. Obviously, I don't think Elysium mentioned anything, but like to me, like it sounds like at least like what you were saying about Gambit is that he wants to talk about that topic and then like stuff around it. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh no. I think he's pretty much set on the topic then.
All right, awesome. Okay, then I'm for it. I like it.
So, and what was the topic again?
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Thank you for the follow.
Colorblind policies versus non-colorblind policies. Which are better when it comes to like addressing discrimination? Right? What?
Here, guys.
What? What is better when it comes to addressing? No, we're not. We're talking about. We're just talking. Okay,
we will talk about France. Don't worry about it.
If you want to talk about France, like I guess you can. Okay, like Neyman's here. I think it's kind of inevitable.
We're gonna.
Oh, you're right. We'll talk about Turkey too.
Yeah. We're gonna do two podcasts at the same time. One is just gonna be with Neyman, and then we're gonna have our own panel where we do actual like interesting politics and talk about dumb French. So
actually, hold on a second. Wonderful idea. Like, why don't we just have Neyman talk to Gambit only, and then Neyman will only talk about France?
What is
curveball?
some.
What if wait? I have an idea. What if we replace Neyman with an Australian and a UKer?
Yeah, at the
At
last
the
minute.
same time, yeah.
In my professional opinion, it's not going to be much of a good faith conversation with GSU.
Great.
We will see. We will see. I'm interested because he says he's a liberal, but a lot of people seem to not agree with that statement. But we're gonna find that out like next week.
Oh no.
All right, bro.
Find
or
out
in 2
next
weeks.
week.
I want to say, if I threw him like any political test, and he does it in good faith, I think he's gonna lean right. A lot of people say, "Yo, I'm liberal here, I'm liberal that, or I'm conservative that." They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
The last time I took one of those things, I ended up fucking 96% Bernie Sanders. I felt so disgusting. I just felt
Wait,
so
I
socialist.
think he's
Dude,
the worst.
hold on, wait.
wait.
This is Lib Praxis. Wait, hold on. What do you identify as, Captain Jones? Chinchilla, what the fuck? I swear to God, you literally like went on a Prime panel because you're a mod, and you like picked 2 people at random, and these are our guests. Dan, I liked you this time, okay? But Captain Jones, what the fuck? Chinchilla, what the fuck?
Well, this is
I'd
again,
probably align
bullying.
with Bernie Sanders too on a lot of things.
Did you just?
Okay, the bullying of Jones has been started again. Poor
I'm
Jones.
being cyberbullied, and I really
Yeah.
it hurts my feelings.
Hey, I can hook
maybe
you
we
up
can
with some.
increase our
with-
funding on cyber warfare or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Jones, I'll hook
I'm
you up with
just-
some Russian hackers. They'll defend you.
Oh, that's what's
mutually,
up.
Nice.
mutually assured destruction there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are we gonna wrap it up again? Thanks for the guests for joining. So Neyman and you will be streaming till 4 a.m., right?
No, I'm passing out here. But
Yeah, I know. So I'm gonna send you guys off to Chow then, in that case. So
Take
Thank
care,
you
y'all.
guys
Thank you so
for-
much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Even though I guess I'm not going to be back, but but it was nice being on for the one and only time. Bye,
nice
everyone.
seeing you. Nice
Hey,
meeting you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
If you want to be back, just talk to Chinchilla, okay? All right.
I was
I'll
just
be the-
kidding. I was just kidding.
I'll be the first one to say that Chinchilla is not like really good. I guess like besides all of us, he's not really good at reaching out to reoccurring guests. Like nobody has come back.
Nobody.
Only
I'm
had,
gonna
like,
remember
we-
that.
So far.
I'm gonna
Jones, be
remember
the
that. Nobody
first
comes back. Got it.
dude, we only had like 3 guests on.
I'm open to come-
These
I'm
are
open
2
to-
guests.
I'm open to come
What
back.
the fuck?
if
Yeah,
I can
Dan.
talk.
See, Dan wants to come back already. So there you go. So
Easy.
thank you guys for joining, and
right,
I'm gonna
bye-bye.
reach SoundCloud Chow.
Oh God, I need to go pass out. I need to curl up in a fucking. Hey, Magic Shirl. I need to go curl up in my whatever the fuck the thing is called on the bed that makes you worm and sweat in there for 8 hours and call it sleep. The Crypto Reporter writes 12 tweet threads disclosing $10 NFT buys to avoid conflicts of interest. Bitcoin consumes more energy than Earth. Can't buy cryptocurrencies because of journalistic ethics. Only writes about Bitcoin crime usage. According to sources, yeah, I hate when journalists source things. Writes a 4,000-word report on DeFi while never using MetaMask. Bitcoin collapses -0. Look, okay, it's a meme. I'm not gonna. It's fine. Yeah, Bitcoin is really stable, by the way. Like the -0.1% is the kind of movements that happen. I agree. Let's. Okay. Make sure to get vitamin C. Yeah, I need to. I just need some rest. I felt better today already compared to yesterday, and it's because I got a good night's sleep. That's what I'm gonna do right now. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna raid someone. -10% is basically 0.1% for crypto. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah, pretty much. If you can't handle the vol, get out of the kitchen. Yeah, well, yeah, it's a fair criticism, okay? Who the fuck are Senpai Chao, I guess. Wait, how do you write his thing again? There you go, with an N. I always start writing it with an M instead of an N. All right, yeah, Senpai Chao. Well, you know, I made it. I did it. I wrote the right words. See ya, my friend. See ya. I'll try to stream a bit more next week. This week's been really rough, and next week's gonna be rough too. But I should be able to stream a little bit, like shorter streams in the evening, whatever. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Start raid. Love y'all.